And welcome into the Friday edition of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5. The Game, Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Hope everybody is doing well today. We got a lot to get to on today's show. A lot of Predators talk to get to. David Poile and John Hines speaking yesterday. Ryan Tannehill speaking yesterday as well. So a lot to get to on that front. Turron Davenport at 8 o'clock. Terry Crisp drops by at 8:30 as well. Aria Gerson, new Vandy beat writer, drops by at 9 o'clock. Looking ahead to the regional getting underway tonight for Vanderbilt against Presbyterian. And as always, taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, how we doing? What's going on?
I'm fine. I want to hear about this awesome softball game. Celebrity softball.
Yeah.
You, Stillman,
What
other
a loose
celebrities.
Term. Yeah.
So Taylor Lewan doesn't show up.
Taylor Lewan did not show.
He could have been the face of your team.
He could have.
He doesn't show up.
He did not show up. Now, I think rumor has it, I don't know that he was going to play. I think he was going to be a quote-unquote coach.
Oh, okay.
So
he was going to coach.
Right. I mean, I thought about that yesterday. I was like, wait a minute. Taylor Lewan tore his ACL last year, and he's going to come play in a celebrity softball game? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
That is a fair point.
So,
but, hey, Myles Garrett's out here dunking on guys.
That's true.
So,
So Taylor Lewan did not show. A.J. Brown wasn't there either. I don't really know what happened on that front. But they weren't there. But it was okay. We made it do without him. You know who was there? Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah.
My goodness. He was electric yesterday.
So he was playing.
He was the coach, but he was all over the field, making his voice known, his presence known, his displeasure with the umpires known at times. It was
really
great. Yeah.
Okay. And this is Terry's. This is his charity.
Yeah, so it was the Folds of Honor tournament, which benefits military families, some of which have lost their loved ones, some of which have been injured in battle, and you're trying to try to help your families get through that. And Bradshaw's a big sponsor of that. Also, he's got a bourbon that sponsors it as well. So he put a team together, and then I was on Team Budweiser last night.
Okay,
taking on the Bradshaw team. So it was good.
Okay, so you were going against
Bradshaw last night. He came over to the dugout talking trash one time, asked me if I wanted to fight him. I said no. No, I don't, Terry.
You kind of look like a young Bradshaw, actually.
That's the greatest thing you've ever said about me.
Don't you think, Elijah? I mean, you see, there's a little bit of you tweeted a picture of you and Bradshaw. I'm like, you could be like Terry's son.
Standing next to each other, I could see a little bit of a resemblance. If you told me there was some relation to Terry Bradshaw, I wouldn't automatically contest that.
Yeah, man. That's the greatest thing you've ever said about me. It was awesome. He was in one last night.
It's a great cause for sure. And so you're telling me that Stillman was not completely embarrassing?
No, he wasn't. Look, Caroline Fenton was there as well, and we kind of put this video out on 102.5 The Game, like trying to predict, who's going to have the better game. And look, I knew I was going to have the better game. I tried to be modest about it, but I've played a lot of softball. Like, if I didn't have a better game than Jared last night, honestly, I don't know if I'd show up to work today. Like, that's how it went. So I went 2 for 2 last night. It was very limited opportunities. I mean, you're talking about we had like 18 people on both sides.
And everybody
hit. So, you played 7 innings. I got to hit twice. So 2 for 2, had a double and a single. Jared went 1 for 2. He had a single and a pop out. He was hitting after me. So,
okay.
Not a bad showing from Jared.
So Jared was providing you protection in the lineup. So maybe you got better stuff to hit because
maybe
Jared
so.
Have you ever thought about
maybe
this?
They were afraid to pitch to Jared, so they just pitched to me.
Hey, well, we better serve some up to this guy.
Serve some up.
Look at that guy in the on-deck circle. He does. I saw video of him doing 2 pull-ups. Yes. I do not want to mess with this dude.
Jared was feeling it before the game. Like, he took out on a sprint, from the foul line to center field, came back in, had a baseball in his pocket that he threw up to the crowd like he was Andrew Jones or something. I mean, it was great. He was soaking in every minute of it. You would have loved it.
I need Jared to become like a national celebrity.
Yeah.
I need it to
He
happen.
was our hype man. Like, we had this pregame huddle, and Jared was in there leading it. It was pretty good.
And so Clark Lee was your coach?
Yeah,
Is that
Clark
right?
Lee, Vanderbilt football coach, was our coach, and he gave us an inspiring speech. We were down heading into the last inning by 1. We came back, took the lead. We then lost the lead in the inning after. But thanks to Clark Lee's speech, we came back and took the lead. But he was great.
What was the speech? Give me the gist of the speech.
Get out there and hit homers was basically the gist of the speech.
All right. Direct and to
There's
the
some
point.
other words, but get out there and hit homers was the gist of the speech.
Okay.
Deshaun Kaiser, teammate last night, played a fine third base. Titans backup quarterback, or competing to be a backup quarterback. So
Deshaun Kaiser showed up. Logan Woodside was not there.
Logan Woodside was not there.
Deshaun Kaiser's got the edge in the battle.
That's right.
He does, getting a little extra work. You said third base. How would that arm look?
Arm looked pretty good.
Okay, so we have a scoop.
Let me just say
Hot
this.
corner.
That was not Deshaun Kaiser's first time playing baseball. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, not his first time throwing a lot of things.
He on his first at bat, they threw one, and the pitch was probably 2 feet outside, and he just threw his hands at it, and he hit it like 330 feet off the wall to left field, pulled it outside. And I was like, okay, well, it's not his first time
Did
playing
he play baseball at Notre Dame? I thought he might have.
I don't know if he played at Notre Dame or not. I was talking to him before. By the way, great guy. Like, the dude's awesome. But I was talking to him before the game, and he said, I played high school. And, somebody, one of the musicians there asked him if he had a chance to, go on and play college. He was like, yeah, but I chose football. Probably a good choice. Ended up being a second-round draft pick, but not his first time swinging a bat, that's for sure.
So who was your favorite country artist on either team?
Oh, there's some good ones. Russell Dickerson was there last night. He was on my team, and we got along great, and he was good. I'm trying to think of the other team, who they had out there. Because Will Compton was on the other team. And it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. He's a pro athlete.
I
I expect pro athletes to be good in a softball game.
I expect so too now. Matt Overton was there as well. He was on my team, former long snapper for the Titans.
Okay.
He's all right.
So you're saying Matt Overton – so there's some issues with Matt Overton's softball game is what you're saying.
I'm saying that it needs work.
Okay. All right.
It wasn't bad. It just needs work. When you see a professional athlete, you think to yourself, okay, like this person you put in the ringer category.
Deshaun Kaiser at third, like that.
And Deshaun Kaiser,
right-handed batters pulling stuff or toast.
Like Deshaun Kaiser at third worked out the way Deshaun Kaiser at third you thought it would. You're like, okay, don't hit the ball to Deshaun Kaiser at third base because he's going to get you out.
Right.
And don't pitch to him either because he's going to kill the ball. That was not the case for everybody.
Okay. Who pitched?
They were all-time. Riley Green pitched for Bradshaw's team. He's a country singer. And then we had somebody from the Sounds pitching.
Sounds, by the way, what, have they won 15 in a row? Is that right?
Had a franchise record with their 15th straight win last night.
I didn't see what the final score was. I looked up. I was in the dugout in the 6th inning, and I looked at the score, and they were up like 15-0 last night. I was like, oh, okay, way to go.
Charlotte had a fierce comeback to cut the lead to 11, and that was as close as it would
Yeah,
get.
there you go. Nice comeback. Way to go, Charlotte. But no, it was a great time. Nobody got hurt as far as I know. And look, I was given a task yesterday from our listeners here on the show that I was required to have a better stat line than Stillman.
You did it.
Mission accomplished.
There you
Here
go.
we are. So it was a good day.
Nice work. Well, I want to see. Is there video of Stillman hitting? Is there video of Stillman?
Now, Caroline was there, and she put a video on Instagram of Stillman kind of taking a hack. Now, I will say this.
Instagram. Come on, Caroline.
I'll find it for you, and we'll tweet it out or do something. We'll find a way to get this video out.
Think of the old people,
She
Caroline.
forgot Joe's old.
Yeah, Joe is old. And maybe you should get an Instagram. Has that ever been something that has crossed your mind?
Look, man. I'm on Twitter. I have Facebook that Katie started for me that I never go to. There is no room for anything else. There's no TikTok. No, I don't even understand why.
You don't have to go to TikTok. Straight to TikTok.
Yeah, but Instagram. No, I'm not doing it. Caroline, young people, share these things on Twitter.
Well, the first hack that Jared took last night. So I was batting in front of him. I got a hit out to left center and got a single out of it. And I'm sitting there on first base. There's a runner in front of me. And Jared gets up there, and he's a lefty. I'm thinking, all right, well, he's going to pull one down the line. This could work out well. He gets up there. He takes a gigantic hack on his first swing, and it's just total whiff. And I'm like, oh, boy, this could be bad because I'd never seen him swing before.
Yeah.
I mean, his swing looked fine. There was no contact. And I was like, oh, boy, like this could be rough. And then he got a hit, and we scored, and it was good.
Okay. Good job, Jared. Proud of you.
He's not the worst I've ever seen. Let's put it that way. So that's good. Way to go, Jared.
So I do. I feel like there was a missed opportunity to have Chase out there.
Oh, I feel like there was too.
Yeah.
That would.
He was busy.
I will say this: Chase would have struck out both times. I have no doubt saying that, but he would not have been the only one.
There were some strikeouts.
Country singer Michael Ray. He struck out both times.
Oh, put on blast, Michael Ray.
Yeah.
Wow. You think Terry Bradshaw might have seen the viral video of Chase taking hacks at batting practice?
I
and
think
was
there's a
like,
chance.
I think I'd rather not.
I think there's a chance that may have happened.
Well, Chase was recruiting to be in this game, so he, I assume, could have taken.
Oh,
a
he could have
spot,
done it. Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it was an option for him.
Yeah.
He elected to go with a different option.
Chase as he may be better as a GM than as a player.
I would say that's probably true.
Yeah, but it would have been fun.
Oh, it would have been awesome. He would have been the talk of the town. You guys ever heard of the rapper Jelly Roll?
I have.
Yes,
Have
he
I
was-
heard?
he was playing.
Am I familiar with any of Jelly Roll's work? No, but I have heard the name.
Jelly Roll was playing last night. Got himself a hit. It's
So
pretty
you can play a little bit.
Yeah,
I have not heard of Jelly Roll, but I like the name.
yeah, it was good.
Makes me hungry.
Exactly. So it was a good time last night. Appreciate the people coming out. Had a nice crowd last night as well, and a good game benefiting a good cause. So it was a lot of fun.
Of the media people, who got the biggest cheer from the fans?
I don't know. That's a good question. It was not Jared.
Did Jared get booed?
He did not get booed. I was interested to see if anybody would boo him
Like
at
at
a
the Preds
charity
games,
softball
he gets
game.
booed lustily.
Right, like it's hard to boo people at a charity softball game.
Right.
But I was
You would
interested to
think.
see if somebody would go that
A
route.
stray boo or two.
Yeah, I mean-
nothing, huh?
I mean, our buddy Buck was there too.
How's his game?
It needs work. needs a little bit of
We're gonna
improvement.
get Buck on the hoops court. I need to throw his stuff into the
Lunchbox
rafters.
was there, I think, from like the Bobby Bone show. He was okay.
Okay,
Yeah, it was good. Good time.
nice. All right. I say we keep breaking this game down the rest of the show.
We can break down the rest of the show if we really want to. Elijah, very quickly, how are you doing with the Lakers loss last night? Are you in mourning? What is this day like for you with LeBron James and the Lakers being eliminated?
It's unfortunate. I don't feel great about it. I am glad it happened late enough to where I only got to watch the thrashing in the first quarter and was like, yeah, I've seen enough. It's time for me to go to bed. But, I mean, if I'm being honest with myself, we won the championship 70-something days ago. So, short off season. I mean, not even a full calendar year ago, the Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA title.
That is true.
My level of being upset is very limited. And, I can stress-free watch all of the rest of these NBA playoff games. Let LeBron and AD get healthy for one more year together. Or more, who knows? I mean, I don't know. But, yeah, my level of disappointment is it's a 5. I'll give it that. It's a 5.
So who do you hitch your wagon to now? Who do you root for now?
You Suns fan now?
Ooh, I don't know if I could ever root for the Phoenix Suns in any kind of playoff run. I do like Chris Paul. It'd be nice to see him win it all, but I might bandwagon the Bucks. I don't know. I'd like to see Giannis have some postseason success outside of the first couple rounds, and for him to lose that moniker of not being able to win in the playoffs, which I think is a little absurd. But
I think a lot of people are going to be on the Bucks train just because of who they're playing now.
because
I'm on the Bucks
playing
train
the
and they
villains.
just swept my team.
Yeah, I think I'm going to root for the Bucks too. Let's all root for the Bucks.
Let's all root for the Bucks.
Robby and Rexrode is officially a Milwaukee Bucks fan show.
Jack Sikma forever.
We stand the Milwaukee Bucks
There we
here
go.
on the show. Well, boys, I got to tell you, we're off to a much better start on today's show than we were yesterday. That's I mean, there was nowhere to go but up.
That's an
But
understatement.
we've done that. We're off to a great start here today on
I don't
the
look
show.
like I've peed myself right now.
That's true. It's always a good start to the program here on Robby and Rexrode. When we come back, David Poyle and John Hines addressed the media yesterday, and there was a lot to sift through as we look ahead to the offseason for the Predators. We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. That was Nashville Predators general manager David Poile yesterday in his end-of-season press conference. David Poile and Predators head coach John Hynes addressing the media yesterday at Bridgestone Arena. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 1025 The Game, streaming on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. So, Joe, there's a lot yesterday in David Poile and John Hynes' press conference. It lasted a little over an hour yesterday, so there's a lot to get to. And you heard David Poile talk in that clip there about this team finding the identity that they had been searching for and that there were a lot of good things to build on as they move forward. David Poile saying also he's not satisfied with what he's seen and that there will be changes heading into next year, which, some people kind of took that and ran with it yesterday. My thought was, well, yeah, there's an expansion draft coming up. There's going to be some changes with this group next year. What was kind of your initial thoughts to what we saw from David Poile and John Hynes yesterday? We're going to get into, the top players part of this a lot coming up later this hour because there was a lot of conversation around the top players of this team, as there's been for really the last 2 years. But just generally speaking, your takeaway from David Poile and John Hynes yesterday at the end-of-season press conference.
Well, first of all, I think Teresa Walker is the only other person who endured this Zoom hell yesterday. But
I just now thought about that. You were in one yesterday, weren't you?
I mean, you got – and again, like all the Preds stuff, very interesting. The Vanderbilt stuff, Tim Corbin, Kumar Rocker, good stuff. The Titans – there was some gaps between. You had Vrabel, you had Tannehill, you had Byard, but I mean, it was like 4.5 hours of Zoom yesterday. Like, what? My gosh, I can't wait. Please tell me that we're spiking Zoom. I don't think Zoom should go away. I think it's a good tool, but like when we can have regular pressers, please tell me that they won't also be on Zoom. Please tell me. So that either you go, great, and then you go and you talk and get your questions, or if you don't go, then you can follow along on Twitter. This is my hope.
I hope you're right. I'm not convinced you will be, but I hope you're right.
Because people, once they open it up where you can go to a press conference, there should not be this thing where everyone gets one question, let's go through the Zoom. No. You show up, and then you can ask 4 questions. But anyway, the Poile Hynes presser, like you said on the first segment, took a while for Hynes to get in there, And I mean, and this is honestly, this has been the case when it was Laviolette too. Like more of the questions are for Poile.
Yeah.
Because it's personnel related questions, typically. But my big takeaways were, first of all, I think now Vingan and I had this discussion a little bit, and I know some fans reacted to this a little bit. And my main takeaway here is, don't overreact if you're a Preds fan to the things Poile said and believing he's all good with the core. And like you said, some things are going to have to change anyway. But look, David Poile did not give any hints, did he, in the end of season 2016 presser that Shea Weber might be moving on?
He did not.
So let's keep that in mind. I mean, look, I love Scorbina. I love Paul Scorbina. And I love that he actually said, hey, basically, like, you going to put Duchesne or Johansson up for the expansion draft? Hey, you flat out ask
question,
him, man. Yeah. But, of course, Poile's like, I'm not tipping my hand.
It serves me no purpose to tip my hand.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure some fans would have liked to have heard more, I guess, displeasure maybe with some of the key guys and the main group and the top players, although he did talk about that a lot. But don't come away from that thinking that now Poile's resolved to keep the band together. I don't buy that. A lot of what he said was, frankly, what I expected him to say.
I agree. I do think there were 2 personnel moves in particular that you feel pretty good about knowing where the Predators stand, and that is they want Pekka Rinne back. They want him to come back and be the backup goaltender for another year. David Poile made that pretty abundantly clear yesterday that if Pekka wants to come back here, they're going to have Pekka back here. So we'll see what that decision ultimately ends up being from Pekka Rinne in the next few weeks. Also, I think it's pretty clear that the Predators want Mikhail Granlund back as well. So neither one of those 2 things are a surprise. We talked about Pekka a lot yesterday in terms of his options moving forward. There were some people asking me, like, are the Predators Are they just going to move on from Pecorine? No. They want him back. If they have anything to say about it all, he'll be back next year. I don't think the Granlund thing's all that surprising either. Like, to me, with the way he played and John Hines, it's apparent, and we're going to talk about, like, the relationship between John Hines and Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson and kind of where we think that is as we move forward here. It's pretty clear where the relationship between John Hines and Mikael Granlund is. John Hines loves him. So Mikael Granlund, understandably so. He was awesome for the Predators coming down the stretch, and I don't think it's a huge surprise that they're going to do everything they can possibly do to try to get him back in here. Now, I don't know that they're going to ultimately be successful bringing him back. Maybe they will. But I don't think it's a huge surprise the Predators want him back based on the season he had.
No, but you're right. I mean, those were some of the stronger statements, I think, from yesterday, just talking about really in detail why he's so good and effective and important for this team, all the little things he does. I mean, he's a coach's dream kind of player. He can have a big impact on a game without being on the score sheet, and he did that a lot. And he also created offense. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, and I would tend to agree with you guys that there's a much higher percentage that both Johansson and Duchene are back than any other outcome there. But even if that's the case, I mean, if you have Granlund back and you can make it work, there's something. But maybe then you can really explore, like the Duchene on the wing thing, and maybe that is your better route. But again, the Granlund thing, that's part of the evaluation on the not selling.
Yep.
And so I'll be interested. How attractive is – obviously the market was not to his liking a year ago, but a year ago is something you kind of throw out too, right? Now the cap, Elliot Friedman wrote this, but also he was on Darren Donick and Chase yesterday. He's talking flat cap for like 4 or 5 years right now.
Could be.
I mean – and that's tough. That's a little different than like the NFL, for example, which has little year dip and right back to the top. And so hockey's talking 4 or 5 years. I don't know what the interest level in Granlund is, but I got to think teams who watched him play this year, there's got to be some. Yeah. There's got to be some kind of market for him. So I don't think it's just going to be easy. But maybe he loves how he fits in here and really wants to give it more time here.
Maybe so, and I think that's going to be something the Predators are going to try to figure out. Now, that move is for sure going to come after the expansion draft, where you don't have to worry about protecting Granlund at that point. I think a lot of these moves that we're talking about are going to come after the expansion draft, so we'll see what happens on that front. We're going to get to the top players a little bit more here in just a second. One more personnel move that we talked about a lot in playoffs was Dante Fabro not getting into the lineup. I thought both Poyle and Hines yesterday very high on Fabro moving forward. He's 22, so it's not a huge surprise that they were kind of taking that route. But if you were wondering, like, if Dante Fabro was in some doghouse with the two of them, it doesn't appear that way. They kind of went out of their way to be positive about Dante Fabro yesterday.
Yeah, and I don't think it was just coach speak, GM speak. I mean, it's an obvious question when he gets scratched. But Poyle talked about him not being as effective coming off the injury.
Yep.
And Hines, it was a good question from Alex Doherty on, so what's a big summer for him? And he talked about, speed should be more part of his game. I mean, it sounds just be more physically explosive.
He's got to get bigger.
Yeah, bigger, stronger. He's at average size. Again, good skill, feel. Be able to battle a little bit more. Hines is throwing out like the burliest forwards in the league. Like, got to be able to, the Bens and the Sagans, got to be able to tangle with those guys a little bit better. So it wasn't saying like he's got to be able to dominate those guys, but you got to be able to stand in a little bit better. So it's all sounds like stuff that's attainable for Fabro. And they talked about his attitude too. I mean, I've never bought this idea that because of this, there's going to be some problem with.
Right.
Hey, man. It's hard to make a pro team. It's hard to get on the ice. So do the things you got to do. I'll be surprised if he doesn't.
When we come back, we'll get into the major theme, the major takeaway from David Poyle and John Hines yesterday, discussing the top forwards on this team. Do we feel like anything's going to change with this group as they move forward here? We'll get into that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming live on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. Discussing the Nashville Predators, David Poile and John Hynes speaking yesterday to the media. And, Joe, one of the big themes yesterday was the top guys, the top forwards specifically on this team. And we're, of course, referring to Ryan Johansson, Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, and Victor Arvidsson. And those four guys in particular we've talked about for a long time now, and here we are again heading into an offseason with some uncertainty surrounding that group and whether or not you can win and compete at a high level with those guys leading the way at forward. And that was a big topic of conversation yesterday with David Poile and John Hynes. And I kind of asked David Poile yesterday about this core group, how he feels about the direction of the group moving forward, and whether or not we've just simply seen enough from this group at this point. Here's what Nashville Predators general manager David Poile had to say.
I think they're really, really good players. And again, at different times, they've all excelled with us, and we just need to get back to that. It's not a case of age or anything like that. It could be it could be a variety of things. I mean, it could be intangible things. It could be who they're playing with. I'm drawing at straws a little bit because John has tried to change some things up and get different combinations. I mean, one of the things that we've really struggled on is our power play, and it has not been good for the last 3 or 4 years. And we've tried different people on that, and we've got to find a way, and they should be part of that. So again, you're asking the question, and I'm not giving you a specific answer, but that is one of the ultimate challenges here. We've got a lot of good things going with our team, but we, like in the playoffs, we needed a timely goal, and we didn't get that. That would have been nice to get that from a top two-line player. We need more production. We can't, as I've already said, we can't win games all the time 2-1 or 3-2. So you need to have that breakout type of players and offense. And again, maybe we do have it. Maybe we just haven't got it in the right spot again. Maybe it's a combination of Tolvanen and having his first full year under his belt. Maybe it's a young player like Tomasino that we give a chance, and he ends up playing in somewhat of a prominent role. I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit of change. Maybe it's what happened in the second half of this season, and the belief and the confidence is back in the team, and specifically with these players. But that's what our job is, and that's to me one of the toughest tasks that we have is we've got to get some I guess real identity with because I've used that word a lot. So maybe we need to get a little bit more identity with our top two lines and what they can be for us.
So that was David Poile yesterday at his press conference. And, Joe, there was a lot there when you start to talk about these core group of forwards that I feel like we've been talking about, basically the same conversation for the last 2 years with these guys of they've had their moments, but largely it's not been good enough. And to me, when it's not been good enough for this long, and we're going on 2 years now, it's difficult for me to believe that all of a sudden next year it's just going to turn around with this core group of forwards. I think that's a dangerous way to operate. And honestly, Joe, you heard him talk. There's a lot of maybes in those answers, and there was a lot of, trying to, as he said, grasping for straws with that answer. I came away from that specific answer from David Poile thinking to myself, I don't know that he has an answer for these top guys right now. And that's a pretty tough spot to be in if you're a general manager.
Well, it's a tough spot that he's put himself in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because he knows that he may not be able to do anything about it at this point. I mean, that's the problem. You have to try, and I think he's going to explore all kinds of different possibilities, but he may be stuck with this group. So that was almost like stream of consciousness thinking out loud. Well, maybe a little Tomasino, and maybe Tolvanen comes on and power play hasn't been, like different combinations, different lines. Try something. I think ultimately with some of these guys, it's, he also said in there, he said it's not age, but the age is advancing. And I think in particular with Duchesne, and I asked him about Duchesne, and, you know, he kind of addressed Duchesne in a few different times yesterday. He may not be old, but he has been in the league a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and so I do think that you take that into account. It's there's a certain amount of wear and tear that maybe is showing up and is just a reality for Duchesne. Or maybe it's just bad luck. Maybe he's been on the wrong line. Maybe it's nothing. It's no comment on Duchesne at all as a player. It's all these circumstances and weird bounces and stuff, and he's actually the same player, and we all just can't see it. I don't think that's it.
I don't think that's it either.
But
I don't think that that's completely out of the picture either. Like, I think he's had some bad luck at times. But you can't tell me that 19 goals in 104 games or whatever the number is, like, it's not all luck. Like, that's not what it is. So we kind of heard, honestly, a little bit more of that from Duchesne the other day. And I get it. Like, you're trying to defend yourself the way that you've played and your contract, all these different things. But I came away from that press conference from Duchesne the other day thinking, all right, at some point there's got to be a little bit more accountability taken for what we've seen through the first couple of years. Like, that's got to get better.
I agree. Well, I agree. I mean, I think Duchesne, like, that's, you know, he's a good talker. He was a lot of great spots on this show all through the year. There's a lot of good insight on stuff. He's very much an optimist. And so at times that plays well, but like after like a loss to Arizona, that's not the guy you want on the mic. You know,
No.
If you're the Preds, you know, it's like, nah, man, no one wants to hear about like some great shifts you guys had in this ridiculous loss to Arizona. But I think with Poyle and his answer yesterday, I mean, look, he just doesn't know. He doesn't know where this is going. He knows it's very possible that he is stuck with this group, and the contracts that he has drawn up make it so, or largely make it so. And so you have to hope. You have to hope some things get better and some things get figured out with them. I don't think he's going to stand there and be happy with it like some people took away from yesterday. But he knows right now it's possible. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to pull anything off.
Well, and that's why, like, I think there were some people wanting, you know, Poyle to come out in the press conference yesterday and to just start hammering Johansson and Duchesne and Arvidsson and these guys that we're talking about. But to your point, like, he may not be able to get out from under this. And they're coming back next year at that point. Like, I mean, it doesn't serve him a whole lot of purpose to just sit there and rip people publicly if they could be coming back next year. Now, look, there's got to be – something's got to change with this group, whether it's him finding a way to move a core piece out of here and shake it up a little bit, or them coming back in and John Hines finding a way to get the best out of them. Because we talked about this yesterday. Like, if you're coming back in and you've got largely the same core and you're not able to shake things up this offseason based on the salary cap and just the way things are going right now in the NHL, if you're coming back and Arvidsson's still here and Duchesne and Johansson are still here, if they are the same players they've been the last two regular seasons, you just don't really give yourself a chance to compete for a cup at that point. Like, that's too much money. It's too much, you know, resources tied up in your top guys to not get that sort of production. You just can't overcome that as a team. It's impossible in today's NHL.
Well, I would agree. Now, the optimist would say, well, wait a minute, 27-1 because the herd line and because the third line and the grit and the overall, the collective, and obviously Saros and all this stuff. Why can't that win? Poyle did kind of make a reference to there's different ways to do it. You know, you can find maybe a few goals here and there, and you kind of compensate for it. But I don't buy it in terms of what should be the goal. I buy that you can win with stretches. You can be competitive. I don't buy that you can be a contender with just that.
I agree. I mean, look at the teams left in the playoffs right now. And you've got to have some high-end skill, some big money guys that get it done for you. I mean, it's just as simple as that. Like, you've got to have that as a part of the equation. Let's go to the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Heidi from Dixon texting in. If he can't fix this and it's his fault in the first place, why are they keeping David? Well, I mean, it's his job to try to fix it this offseason.
Yeah, look, who's they?
Yeah. Who's making the decision? Look, he's not going anywhere this offseason. I mean, I think that's pretty clear at this point. If that was going to happen, probably not doing that press conference yesterday.
I mean, I would advise, the Preds to have a member of the ownership group at some point speak. I think that would be very smart because, like, David Poyle doesn't own the team. He's the GM. Now, Sean Henry's the CEO. He talks, but, I mean, I think someone who actually owns part of this team should speak to fans at some point. I think that would be really smart. Tom Seguin did that. I mean, I had an interview with him. Of course, that was during the Stanley Cup final when things were, like, going as well as possible. I think if he were still, the guy at the top there in that role, he probably would, but someone needs to.
I agree.
Because I have no idea, like if there's even a second given to the evaluation of Poyle's future in that job, but I think fans deserve to know if there is or not.
When we come back, we'll continue the discussion on the Nashville Predators. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We also got to Victor Arvidsson specifically yesterday in the press conference. What do we make of his future here with the Predators? Is he ever going to get back to being the player he was a couple of years ago? We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. ESPN 94.9 is the home for Nashville Sounds baseball. Tonight, the Sounds are on the road to face the Charlotte Knights, the AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox. The pregame show with Jeff Him starts at 5:50, and first pitch is at 6:04. Nashville Sounds baseball on ESPN 94.9, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans and by 312 Pizza Company. They also take on Charlotte Saturday and Sunday as well. So a nice weekend set against the Charlotte Knights. The Sounds, they're on a heater. They just keep on winning. First place in the minor leagues, all the minor leagues.
Rolling. It's like the Durham Bulls in the summer of '88 after they did the
That's right.
they did the water slide around the bases. Do you understand this reference?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You get it.
I know the movie it's from, have not seen the movie itself.
Really?
Never
You
seen Bull
know,
Durham.
I don't know that I've ever been disappointed in Elijah.
Until now.
There's first time for everything.
You are
Well, maybe that's a
haunted.
weekend project for you. You can watch some Bull Durham.
Oh, that might be. I'm just now catching up on all the movies Pete Weber told me to watch during hockey
Well,
season.
Okay.
It was usually
Such
it was once a broadcast.
Let me tell you. I'm sure that, Blazing Saddles is on that list.
100%. Pick a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah,
Any
pretty
Mel
much,
Brooks
yeah.
movie, and that was on the list.
There you go.
So you watch Blazing Saddles?
I did. That's a trip.
That's a trip, man.
That's
Mel,
definitely
Mel
a trip.
Brooks and Richard Pryor on that script. That's
I figured-
a classic.
If I was going to be doing these games next year too, which I know I'm going to be, I might as well understand most of the inside jokes between Pete and Hal, which usually occur by being quoted in these Mel Brooks movies.
Exactly.
Yeah, little Airplane might help too.
I love Airplane. That one's one of my favorite comedies of all time.
You're fine. You're
I
fine.
watched
You're
that
in
one
good
at a
shape.
younger age.
But yeah, I would advise Bull Durham. I'm going to start drawing up a list here. For,
Well, look, let's be honest here. He's in much better shape than Porth. Like, Porth
Wow.
is a lost cause when it comes to these movies.
Seen like 5 movies ever.
he is, but like, there's got to be just a baseline of like 10. That's like you can't live without seeing these movies.
Right.
Like you can barely
But
converse
how many
in
times do you
public.
throw out a reference like that and Porth just stares at you like you've got 3 heads? You
Right.
just see, he has no clue what you're talking about.
Yes, very often.
Very often.
Too often.
That doesn't happen very often with Elijah. So we like it.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time watching movies in my youth.
Sorry, I got distracted for a second. Dan Campbell's on the TV from the Lions and was trying to see if he was out there biting kneecaps or anything.
Well, no. Did you see how he came out yesterday?
No, I did not.
Oh, he came out in a auto racing helmet.
Are you serious?
Yes. Now it's because he's like the grand marshal of like the Detroit Grand Prix, I think.
Okay.
So like
That
there's
man's a
reason.
trip.
But
This
yes.
is going to be a total disaster.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. Actually, he's the best. He's the best Lions coach ever already.
Whatever makes them slightly more watchable.
Talking Nashville Predators right now, taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Joe, we've talked a lot about the top forwards and kind of the role that David Poile is going to have in playing and trying to fix that this summer. James on the text line says, how he navigates this offseason is a deciding factor with Poile. The expansion draft is the great unknown. Addition by subtraction may help. Losing James Neal and PK a couple of years ago were wrong subtractions. I don't know if I buy that. Now, I will say,
Wait a minute. You've had the James Neal
the
theory.
James Neal the year after, could that have been a difference in the Winnipeg series? I think so. I think it could have been. Now, what they do after that, I don't know. Like, I think there's this thought process that if they beat Winnipeg that year, they're going to win the Cup. Maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know. But I do think James Neal could have made a difference in the Winnipeg series. Now, have you watched James Neal since that year after? It's not been good.
Have you watched Subban since
Have
he
you
left?
watched
Has he
PK
played?
Subban?
Has he played?
Not many people have watched either because they've barely been on the ice.
Yeah. It's not been great. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and act like, the subtractions of James Neal and PK Subban are holding this team back right now because those two, they've just gone in a completely different direction since they've left.
Subban had a fantastic 2-year run, still a good 3rd year. It was time. There's nothing wrong with that move. Now, the corresponding sign Duchesne to this massive deal, that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's the second part of that whole process that is hurting this franchise right now. So I hear you on that. So we'll see what he does this offseason. He may not get much done on that front. I don't think it'll be for lack of trying.
No, I think he's going to try to shake things up. It could prove to be very difficult in this environment. And one guy in particular that I think is really interesting to try to figure out right now is Victor Arvidsson. We talked about him a little bit last week. As a matter of fact, on Call Your Shot Friday, I think both you and I last week said he won't be here next year. So that was our called shots last week. Look, he's making, $4.25 million a year. So it's not like his contract is just overbearing for this Predators team. Quite frankly, if you look at his numbers since he signed, it's been a pretty good deal for the Predators with the numbers he's put up and the contract that he signed. But there's no question about it. The last 2 regular seasons, Victor Arvidsson has not been the same guy. And we saw him. He was hurt once again in the playoffs. David Poile and John Hines saying yesterday that Arvidsson's still hurt, needs a little bit of time to recover as they move forward here. But I did find it interesting. You asked John Hines yesterday, in this hypothetical world, if Arvidsson's healthy and is available for, games 5 or game 6 in this series, would he be in the lineup? Would he have been in the lineup? He says yes. Now, I don't know, if he wasn't, I don't know if he's going to tell you right there in that setting anyway, but he says yes. I don't know if I buy that, and this is a really interesting spot right now for the Predators with Victor Arvidsson because it's become clear to me that the speed is just not the same over the course of the last couple of years. Now, again, he's not old. He's 27 years old, so it's not like his speed should just all of a sudden have evaporated.
He's entering his athletic prime.
He is entering his athletic prime, as you like to say. But with the injuries that he sustained, and Poile brought up the Bortuzzo hit yesterday as well that he admitted has taken a big toll on Arvidsson. I think it's fair to wonder at this point, is he ever going to get back to being the player that has that speed burst? And if he's not, and you feel like he's not, if you're the Predators and David Poile, that has to change the way you feel about him because a huge part of Arvidsson's game is his speed and his ability to make defenders uncomfortable on the rush, push people back on their heels. And when you don't have that, what you have at that point is, yes, a gifted player with his hands. He's got a good shot. But if that speed's not a part of it, his size is what it is. It's hard to overcome that at that point when you don't have speed. So they're in a really interesting spot right now with Arvidsson. Yeah,
and I do think that Arvidsson could be attractive, as a trade piece. And that's maybe something worth exploring. You want to be harder to play against. I do think this playoff was an example of the benefit of having maybe a little less skill in some spots, but guys like Cousins out there aggravating but still making plays, creating some offense, being physical. And Arvidsson really has, through his career, been a little less effective when he goes from regular season to postseason. In a couple instances, way less effective, even when he was still the Victor Arvidsson as we knew him.
Yep.
And I think that's got to be a concern. I think over the last couple of years, Forsberg leaves you wanting more. Johansson clearly has stepped up in the last 2 postseasons, which is great. But he knows, and he said it, and it's true. He's got to be more consistent and more productive in the regular season. Those guys, though, to me, I think if I'm choosing, well, forget Forsberg. Of course you want Forsberg. But even Johansson, I lean more toward I'd keep rolling with him. We know that Duchesne is it's just a problem right now. Either he has to massively turn things around, or it's a resources that are draining other opportunities for you. And they're just – but Arvidsson, I think, is one of the kind of surprising and maybe under-talked about things of the last couple of years, and maybe this is the summer that gets addressed, and maybe that can be enough. If they moved Arvidsson for something and they were able to unload Duchesne, which I don't have optimism on the second part, but then you'd be talking about a really significant change.
Yeah.
But then the question is, okay, so then what is replacing that?
Exactly.
It's taken Tolvanen quite a while to get to. Now he's in there, but he's still got to get better. He's got to be better 5-on-5. Is it realistic for us to expect Tomasino to come in next year and just set the world afire?
I'd be surprised.
Let's be realistic with this stuff.
Right. He's a 19-year-old kid. I think he's going to make the team. I think Tomasino is going to be a part of this team next year. I think he's going to be fine. I don't know if you're expecting Tomasino to come in and, put up 60 points next year. Probably pump the brakes a little bit with the rookie coming in. It takes some time to get to that level in the NHL. So we'll see what happens with Victor Arvidsson on that front. I think it's going to be a very interesting offseason from that standpoint. When we come back, we will switch gears and get into the Tennessee Titans. On the field yesterday, Ryan Tannehill speaking to the media as well, and had at least one comment that had some people buzzing around here. We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode live from the Wholesaling Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, hour number 2 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Taking your thoughts on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Ryan Tannehill, quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, addressing the media for the first time this offseason yesterday at the OTAs. Tannehill has been on the field working with his teammates this week. And Tannehill, as we know, there's been a lot of buzz lately about him, his contract, how that could play into a possible restructure to make room for Julio Jones should the Titans decide to explore that route with a trade with the Atlanta Falcons. And that topic of conversation, not directly with Julio Jones, but that contract discussion came up yesterday with Ryan Tannehill in his press conference at OTAs. Here's what Ryan Tannehill had to say about the idea of restructuring his contract.
Yeah, I mean, that's up to John. He's going to have to figure that out if that's something that we want to do as an organization. I don't know. That's above my pay grade. But if he comes to me, then we'll have that conversation then.
So that was Tannehill yesterday saying that's up to John. It's above his pay grade, but if Robinson comes to him, that's a conversation they'll have at that point. And Joe, Tannehill made those comments, and people went a variety of different directions with that. People on Twitter responding to you said it sounded kind of dismissive of the idea. And then we had Jared yesterday on the show saying that means that Ryan Tannehill wants to restructure the contract, is open to restructuring. What were your takeaways from Tannehill's comments there about restructuring his contract and the idea of that being an option for the Titans?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is always the problem with just tweeting a quote is that, well, one problem is that some people are stupid, but another problem is just that, I mean,
That goes for a lot of things.
yeah,
It does.
But there's this anger, oh, come on, Tannehill, and it's like, wait, what do you think he's saying? I mean, all he's saying is, so I guess there's an example for me of just paraphrase it in your words. Just said he hasn't been contacted, and now people have pointed out, okay, he doesn't have a say anyway if they want to restructure his deal. I mean, it's to me it was just he was asked a question about it and he gave the stock. That's not my decision. If anyone wants to do anything, they'll have a conversation. I don't think there's ever been a situation with something like this, which is just really, this is just not a pay cut or something. This is just basically it's changing his money into bonus money. I mean,
yeah. So
technically I think the Titans could do this and Tannehill doesn't have a say in it. But does a team do that? No, I'm sure they actually go to the person in question. And this has happened with Brady before, and say, "Hey, this is what we want to do." Okay, but there was no commentary in that quote on good, bad, anything. It's just
it was basically indifferent.
Yeah,
we talked.
It's just it hasn't happened. So I mean, the thing to take from it is, because I've heard some people say, "Well, maybe they did this months ago and we just don't know." No, we would know if they did this. They didn't do it. They haven't done it. If they do it, well, then that should tell you something. Because I don't think they're doing this. Now, I guess you could do this. You may need to do this on the tight end front, even if you don't trade for Julio. Potentially. Although I think, there's a lot of things you do. They have done, again, they did one thing with Byard's deal. They changed it a little bit, kicked it down a little bit, down the road a little bit. But this is purely just, no, it hasn't happened yet. So if it does happen, there's a reason, and Julio will be the reason.
So let's say John Robinson comes to Ryan Tannehill at some point and wants that to happen. Whether it's for Julio or even for the sake of this conversation, let's say it's for a tight end. If you're Ryan Tannehill, how attractive is that to you? How big of a deal, how much thought do you give this? Because I kind of look at this situation, if I'm Tannehill, saying, okay, you're going to move this up to bonus money and give me more money up front? Cool. Yeah, let's go ahead. Let's do that.
Yeah, and again, I think technically if he said no, I think the answer would be well, actually, I wasn't actually asking you, So, yeah. I mean, I think it's just being courteous.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing now with your money. You're getting the same money.
Yeah.
It's some of it's now converting to bonus, and look, if it was Tannehill, it actually was on him to approve it or whatever, do you think that he'd be okay with Julio Jones as the?
I think he'd be fine.
I mean, there's no downside. So I mean, like again, like people are like, "Oh, Tannehill, what? Come on, man."
He's reluctant.
He just said it hasn't happened. That's all he said.
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out yesterday because people were coming after you on Twitter, which I always find entertaining anyway. Like, it's one of my favorite parts about Twitter is just watching your interactions and people come after you on Twitter. But people were like, "Oh, that Tannehill, he's reluctant to give up the money and to restructure the deal. Why is he doing this?" And I was like, what are y'all talking about?
And then
one of those comments made you think he was reluctant.
And then Jared tweets out, "Oh, sounds like Tannehill's in for it or something." I'm like, no, he just said nothing happened. That's all he said. This is the problem. You have 5 hours of Zoom and you start seeing ghosts. You know what I'm talking about, Elijah. You start seeing ghosts. You start just reading stuff into things that aren't there, and
they start turning on your Xbox.
I will kind of agree with Jared. By the way, I was listening to Tannehill while driving with my phone on the Zoom because I had to take Brennan and two of his buddies to speed coaching. Okay,
what is that?
It's actually, I mean, this guy's a pretty awesome coach. But yes, it's a new thing. It's speed. It's working. It's working out, but it's like to run faster.
Maybe I need coaching. That.
Who said you can't coach speed?
That's right.
Yeah. Hey, I was watching them yesterday.
Brennan's going to have some SEC speed for too long. It'll be good.
That's right. So I'm listening to this whole thing, and I will agree with Jared that I was a little surprised no one just threw out a random like Julio question to Tannehill. I mean, again,
he probably wouldn't say anything.
No. He's going to say, you know what? I like the guys we have. I'm whoever I'm playing with. I like throwing to. And he talked about all the receivers yesterday, and he talked about Reynolds. They're both Aggies, of course, and Fitzpatrick. He's going to give you the stock answer. But yeah, I was a little surprised. I don't know if I'd say disappointed. I was just surprised someone didn't throw it out there for fun. It's
not too late. Just call him up. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Julio? Maybe he'll be in an A.J. Brown video soon.
Is he on Insta?
I don't know. I think Ryan Tannehill's on Insta. Yeah.
Yeah. He's young and hip.
Just get A.J. Brown to make another video for Julio, which I'm sure, we've not seen one in a couple of days. So it's got to be in the works. Like there's got to be one coming up soon.
Maybe that's why he wasn't at softball last night.
Could be. Maybe he's making a video and just put Tannehill in there. We can get going on that front.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If I'm Tannehill, we can debate money and risk and all this stuff. If I'm Tannehill, man, I'm probably not even wanting to think about it because I don't want to get too excited.
Get your hopes up, yeah, and then just get crushed when he signs or when he gets traded to the Colts.
Yeah, and all of a sudden you got to see him twice a year on the other side.
Ugh,
boy. Tannehill's got to be he's got to be excited about this possibility.
Absolutely. I think you'd be crazy if you weren't excited, if you're Ryan Tannehill, about the idea of getting Julio Jones if you're the Titans. We'll continue this discussion when we come back. How do you balance the need to bring in Julio Jones or a tight end if you're the Titans? Two big-time, intriguing questions as they move forward here this offseason. We'll get to that coming up next. 102.5 The Game and T-Mobile have partnered up to give you a chance to experience a Nashville SC game this season. Make sure you're tuning in every Monday to Darren, Donick, and Chase for the keyword to text in the win. Good luck from 102.5 The Game, T-Mobile, and Nashville SC. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee, discussing the Tennessee Titans, taking your thoughts on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Joe Rexrode, a popular conversation lately has been obviously Julio Jones to the Titans, but there's also another glaring need. They need a tight end at some point. Like, I love Anthony Firkser, but I don't think he's number one tight end. So if you're the Titans and you look at both of those needs as you look ahead here, I still think there's some work to do in the receiving room, regardless of if it's Julio Jones or if it's not. But there is obviously still work to do with the tight ends in this group as they move forward here. So if it comes down to it and you can have one or the other, a legitimate quality starting tight end in the NFL, whether that's Zach Ertz or whoever, whatever name you want to throw out there, or Julio Jones, which route would you rather see the Titans go if you're a Titans fan? Let us know at 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Joe Rexrode, I ask you that question. If you're the Titans, if it's a legitimate starting tight end or Julio Jones, which route would you rather see them go?
Is it Julio Jones?
That's the question.
Is it real Julio Jones?
His name is Julio Jones.
Okay. If it's Julio Jones as we know him, I don't think there's any question.
I would agree.
There is some question about that, but I mean, if you're entertaining this and if you're going into this, if you're even throwing out, third round pick, fourth round pick, second round pick, whatever it may be, and you're willing to take on that money, then you are only doing that if you think it's Julio Jones for real, right?
I would think so.
If it is, then I don't think it's close. It's, when you say starting tight end, now, I guess if you're talking about like a star tight end,
let's just throw it out there, Zach Ertz.
Yeah, I mean, I would look. They have. I've said this several times. I'll say it again. They have a bigger need at that position, no question. I think they need to do something there probably. But, I mean, you're asking me, would you rather have the real Julio Jones or let's say the real Zach Ertz, who was very good? Yeah, I'll take Julio.
I'll take Julio too. It'd be great. I mean, we've talked about this. I mean, you don't even need Julio to be, 100% of Julio Jones. 80, 85% Julio Jones, still pretty good. And that's going to do a lot of things for you if you're the Titans.
It's better than, this gets into like Sex Panther, like it works 100% of the time,
yes.
30% or whatever.
Yes.
60% of the time it works
every time. But like Julio Jones, 85% of Julio Jones is better than like 85% of receivers in the NFL or something like that.
Probably a little bit more, but yeah.
Or maybe a little bit more.
Every time.
Yeah. So, look, to me, this is not really that hard of a question. Like Julio Jones, if you can tell me that Julio Jones, and obviously you don't know this at the time you're making a trade for him, if you tell me that Julio Jones is available and that he's going to be on the field for you and he looks anything like he's looked in his career, I'm taking Julio Jones every time, and I'm riding with that. Now, if it comes down to it and that's it, like you've either got to choose to be Julio Jones or it's got to be a tight end and you don't have room for both, like that's still, even with Julio Jones, in my opinion, that's a pretty big hole the Titans have in their offense. Like you got to find a way to compensate for that. And look, maybe I'm not giving enough credit to Anthony Firkser in terms of his blocking ability, but that is a concern moving forward here. Like that was a concern with Jonnu as well when he first came in the league, and then he became pretty good at it. Maybe Firkser can do the same thing. I don't know. I just kind of view Firkser as a different style tight end than the inline blocking guy that we know has been so important to this Titans offense.
I mean, Todd Downing talked the other day. Yeah, it was the other day, right?
Yep.
So much Zoom going on
been a
this
lot.
week. But he talked about the importance of, Swaim being a threat downfield and Firkser being able to do all the things they need tight ends to do. So I don't doubt that Firkser is focused on that in this offseason and that they're not going to be as predictable as you might think. And look, Firkser has had good blocking moments. It's not like he is a complete nothing as a blocker. But I think they need another guy. I think they ideally need an Ertz kind of player, a player who has is an all around starter, or at least another guy. I mean, Michael Pruitt, by the way, did he sign with the Niners?
Signed with the Niners.
He signed with the Niners,
Yep.
so he's out of the picture. But yeah, if you're comparing these two things, the impact on your bottom line, the impact on your offense, again, like Julio Jones at close to full power,
It's not close.
You're scary, And look, the way this reads to me, more and more. I mean, it was about a week ago we heard about this first-round pick. I completely don't buy that at all. I think it's over if that's true. Russ Tucker just came out with his podcast talking about that too, about how if there's a first-round pick out there, it's announced right now.
Yeah.
So I feel like the Titans are likely in a spot or in a range, if not, here's the offer, in a range with the offers. TD talked yesterday on Jared's show about flags, which is an interesting way to put it. Like, if you get between here and here, then we'll get in on this.
Yep.
So they're probably locked in on that. But if these other teams are peeling away right now, that's why I think you see growing sentiment around the league that it might end up coming back around to here.
Joel on Twitter says, I trust Ferkser more than the backup wide receivers. You're also probably not going to find a tight end with the equivalent talent level of Julio, so it's Julio for me. You're certainly not going to find a tight end with the talent level of Julio Jones.
Well, so here, let me go back to a discussion I had while taking the boys to speed training.
Okay.
Because we started talking about this, and it was like, well, what about Gronk? What about like Gronk in his prime? Who would you rather have? And I mean, honestly, like, tight end I love throwing to the tight end. It's a great position. Okay, it's an important position. It's versatile, run, pass game, but like a great receiver who's a game breaker who takes the top off a defense and then combined with those two other skill guys. What tight end would you rather have than if you have the full Julio or close to it? I can't name one, I don't think.
I can't.
I mean, I love Mark Bavaro, man. I mean, shout out to Sean Henry. Mark Bavaro just breaking all those tackles.
Maybe it's Kyle Pitts.
Well, Kyle Pitts is going to be ridiculous. I mean, look,
I was about to say that too, actually.
Like an Antonio Gates, in his prime, a Tony Gonzalez in his prime. These guys are massive weapons, and they're like no one can cover them. I mean, Kelsey, no one can cover them. The safeties can't cover them. Linebackers can't cover them. So, okay. So if we're talking like that level, you're talking about a handful or fewer guys ever in the league. Okay. But
anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no tight end that's going to give you what he could give you. And again, if you're starting this discussion, if you're in this, then you're not in this for the diminished, all of a sudden he's falling off the cliff. If that happens, well, you're screwed, okay? But I don't think there's evidence out there right now to say he's fallen off a cliff.
No.
I think the durability is a concern. The age is a concern. Sorry, I'm just spit on the microphone. The age is a concern.
It's better what happened yesterday.
That's true. Yeah, this has been a fairly
smooth show so far.
I'm sweating a lot less.
Let's not jinx that. If you're in this, then you think that's what he is. So it's look, I warm up more to it every day. So when we get to like July 17th and the Colts trade for him after this stalemate for weeks and weeks, then by then I'll be like, oh my gosh, the Titans are going to go 4-13 this year.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chris texting in, Capologist Joe, is there a way to restructure some contracts and get both Julio and Zach Ertz? I don't know the market or price tag on Ertz.
Restructure all the deals. Restructure all the deals. Again, when you restructure deals, you will have bigger cap hits later. I mean, that's as a rule, right? You will be hurting more later. And well, with Ertz too, here's the thing. I mean, there's reports coming out of Philly like they're not just going to release him.
Yeah.
There was more sentiment that maybe they were just going to let him go. But they're
That's what I thought it was going to be when this offseason started.
yeah, but it sounds like from the reporting around the Eagles, like they are planning to get something for him, which of course keeps his deal intact.
Yep.
So and I don't even know actually what it is right now, but it's pretty hefty. I think if he were released, I don't know what Jack Hurts would get. I don't buy that he's done, and if he ended up being like a consolation prize here for the Titans and they didn't get Julio, I still think that would be a really nice addition to the offense, but I don't think you could do both.
Our friend Taylor from Fort Campbell texting in, a 90% Ertz is greater than a 70% Julio. Ertz was a top 3 tight end 2 years ago.
But but a top 3 tight end does not – I'm sorry. Even Zach Ertz, who's been really good. He's a great example actually of really good tight end. A big weapon. He's good in the red zone, catches everything. I mean, moves the chains. That's not what Julio does.
No.
I'm sorry. This has turned into ripping tight end as a position, but
That's what you're doing.
I want the elite receivers. And again, I do think that a Julio let's talk just about A.J. Brown because the Titans have one who's coming into his own as elite receiver. Just think about the difference for him having Julio on the other side, 70%. Let's go with 70%, Tyler, or no Julio. It's a pretty big difference.
Taylor, but yeah.
Oh, Taylor. Sorry, Taylor. My bad. But you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
I just disagree. I think that, Ertz is in that position, bigger need, but close to full Julio, bigger impact.
Kevin on Twitter says, Julio, and give us Delaney back, too. Ryan in Nashville on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, bring Delaney back. There's been a lot of that, man.
Let's
keeps on
ratchet
going.
up that average age for this team. They're trying to chase the Texans.
Okay, so if
Be awesome, a time machine.
if you want Delaney Walker back on this team, can you explain to me why? I just want to know why. Look, Delaney Walker,
I'll tell you why.
He's a great dude. Obviously would be popular in the locker room. I don't think anybody would question that. He's not really played football in 3 years, basically.
Right. The reason is because the last memories of him were as a very good tight end, but people are forgetting that was in 2017.
Yeah, I know.
In 2019, so 2 years ago, it was very obvious that they were going to move on, and it was about ending for Delaney Walker.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality. I think a lot of that probably got accelerated by a very gruesome injury to start 2018. And then he's out of football last year. And I have no doubt that Delaney Walker is probably in tip-top shape.
Sure.
And I'm not saying he couldn't get into the league and play somewhere, but if you think that's the answer now, I think it's just misguided. I don't think you should realistically expect that guy at his age, after all he's been through, being out of football this long, when, again, the last Delaney Walker, as you know him, football he played was in 2017. You got to move on.
Well, Delaney had the workout with the Niners on Wednesday. And then I think yesterday they signed Michael Pruitt. So what does that tell you?
Right. So that's a good point. So they looked at both of those guys. They opted for the Titans' number 3 tight end last year.
What does that tell you?
Who the Titans let go, basically. I don't know exactly their feeling on Michael Pruitt. They actually did address that at some point along this offseason about how he's out there. But obviously they didn't feel strongly enough about keeping him, even with this tight end situation, and yet that's who the Niners picked over Delaney Walker.
Yeah.
Come on.
We'll continue this discussion when we come back. Got a lot of your thoughts to get to on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Would you rather have Julio or a good starting tight end that's a huge need for the Titans moving into the season? We'll get to that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Talking Titans, who would you rather have, Julio Jones or a starting caliber tight end? That's a pretty big need for the Titans as they head into this season. We've had a variety of different opinions, including, Joe, a variety of opinions on Delanie Walker as well. At Tremont Rhino on Periscope says, Delanie is 36. Y'all act like he's in a wheelchair.
I don't know. I think Delanie Walker, like last night in your celebrity softball game, could have kicked some butt.
Oh, he'd been great.
You know, he probably could have legged out a triple.
Yeah.
You know, gone to the wall to catch a Jared Stillman lollipop.
Well,
ground. You know,
I mean,
warning track shot.
Let's talk this out for a second. Okay, he's 36 years old. We're acting like he's in a wheelchair. He's not played football, really consistently played football, since 2017. You just brought that up. We've not seen Delanie Walker look like Delanie Walker since 2017.
Well, we saw him try in 2019.
Sure.
Which told you when he was 34, like, yeah, okay. He's been through a lot. He's been a lot of years in this league. Do you think 36 years old as a tight end in this league is not old?
It's old.
Dude, it's very old. Don't be fooled by Mr. Kale Shake, Tom Brady playing quarterback till he's 48, okay? That's not the same thing. 36 years old as a tight end is old.
It's very old. So if you're going to say we're acting like he's in a wheelchair because he's 36, well, then stop acting like he's 27. I mean, it's not the same player. Now, if you're bringing in Delanie Walker, because, look, I think people keep acting like if the Titans brought in Delanie Walker, they would bring him in to be the starting tight end. It's just not going to happen. Like, that's not even a thought process for the Titans. So if you're bringing in Delanie Walker, it would be in a very different role than what we've seen. But to sit here and act like Delanie Walker can still come in and be the Delanie Walker that he was in 2015 for you, I think it's just asinine at this point. It's 2021.
Again, 2017, he was still great. He was, 15 was the year where he had just 94 catches, outrageous numbers. Great in 16, great in 17. Nasty injury in the opener in 2018. Has not been the same. Has not played in 2 years. 2 years ago, played. Wasn't the same. The writing was on the wall. Move on.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Andrew from Dover texting in. I try to work the cap to where I can get Jones and Hayden Hurst. That way we get a top receiver and a guaranteed number one tight end, bringing your offense to a whole different level to compete with the Chiefs and the Bucs.
Well, I'd like to see him also throwing Matt Ryan. He would be a hell of a backup. They can do the 2 QB thing with Tannehill and Ryan. I mean, you would have – that's like better than even your New Orleans Saints, Elijah Campbell. Come on.
Maybe.
The Jameis Taysom show this year.
Hey, they don't have Taysom Hill's wheels, so I mean
his power as a fullback posing as a quarterback.
Yeah, it's like Larry Zonka if he had an arm.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine. Hey, listen, it sounds great.
Look, if you're going to trade for Julio, why not just kill two birds with one stone?
Throw in Hayden. Throw in Grady Jarrett.
We talked about it, but look, before all the Julio Jones stuff came up, we talked about the idea, if you're the Titans, of trading for Hayden Hurst. Like,
yes.
I don't think that's a crazy idea at all.
No.
It's just things have shifted a little bit.
Hey,
Looks like they're going after somebody else.
Well, let's say it ends up that, because again, as trade partners go, it's an interesting, this happens, but I mean, you've got a guy who was just here and another guy who was just here a year earlier. And so there's a lot of roster familiarity. There's some good relationships. What if the Titans end up trading for Hayden Hurst but not Julio? What's the excitement level in that?
Well, I think it's funny because if they did that, like if the Titans traded for Hayden Hurst in April, I think people would be like, all right, cool, Hayden Hurst. If the Titans traded for Hayden Hurst right now and didn't get Julio, people would be like, oh, my God, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's like Price is Right, and you're going for the new car, and then you get like a year's supply of shake and bake, as a consolation. But Hayden Hurst is a good player.
He's a good player.
I'm not knocking him.
Yeah,
and it's a need. I mean, it would actually be good deal for the Titans if whatever the deal is, but it'd be good for the Titans to get him. But yes, now it's basically become Julio or bust in this town.
At Cooper's Vols on Twitter says, I trade for Njoku from Cleveland. Even though Cleveland paid from the tight end from Atlanta last year, Njoku was more productive in the passing and blocking game. Runs a 4.4 40, 6'5", 245. He'd fit into Jonnu's role perfectly.
Oh, he's talented. I like him.
Would you trade for him?
I mean, trade what?
Maybe get him and Clowney.
I don't know.
Just bring Clowney back.
Bring Conklin back. Yes. I don't know. I'm not familiar off the top of my head with Njoku's contract.
I'm not either. We can look.
I can find that out real fast.
Better option than Delaney Walker.
Also, somebody on Twitter says Ferkser could be elite if we add Julio. They can't cover Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio, and Ferkser. What do you think about that? The idea of Anthony Ferkser being elite. Which, by the way, we're having this conversation. Some people on Twitter have taken this as like disrespect to Anthony Ferkser. Yeah. No, I like Anthony Ferkser. I think he's a good player. I have my questions as to whether or not Anthony Ferkser should be your number one tight end. I don't think that's that crazy of a question.
Right. $6 million cap hit, by the way, for Njoku this year.
Okay.
That's juicy. I mean, it's up there a little bit. Probably up there more than you want to pay. But I mean, I like him. He's a very talented player. Yeah, Ferkser, it's not disrespect to him. I think he's very good. He's been a heck of a story. He's been a reliable player. He and Tannehill have great chemistry. He's going to produce this year. He's going to be a good player this year. Let's say someone gets hurt. What if Ferkser gets hurt? I mean, we talk about that with receiver all the time, right? Well, let's talk about it with tight end. What if Ferkser gets hurt? What if Swaim gets hurt?
Yeah.
I mean, you are now to – is K-State undrafted rookie Briley Moore ready to come in? And maybe he is. Now, Jared Pinkney?
I mean, look, this is why I continue to believe they're going to address tight end at some point, because right now, honestly, looking at tight end, it kind of feels like edge rusher last year. Like if one guy doesn't work out or it goes down, you have nothing. Like Brooks Reed's coming in to play tight end. Like what are you going to do at that point?
That hair flowing, yeah. He can run.
He can.
Yeah, no, that's a good comparison. It's like, what? Gosh, only 3 guys, huh? And one of them is an undrafted guy who's made 2 tackles in his whole career. Okay.
See how that goes.
Good
today.
luck with that.
Let's go back to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Got a texter that says, Zach Ertz would fill in the holes on this offense. He's more affordable. Julio isn't a guarantee with his health.
Well, there's no guarantee. So, but look, hey, I've heard people say, Ertz, he's done. I disagree. 30. He had a high ankle sprain. High ankle sprains will hurt. They will last. That's ligament damage. I mean, that's serious stuff. But yeah, Julio's a gamble. I know. Look, if you are convinced Julio is going AJ Green, then you know what? Maybe he is, and it'll be a disaster. But based on the information we have, I can't sit here and say, oh man, he is really diminished. I mean, when he played last year, he still looked like Julio Jones. Now, injuries are a part of this, but
yep.
I can't. With the information that we have available to us, I don't know how anybody could conclude absolutely that he's done or off the cliff. It's possible. It happens, and you never know when it's going to happen. I thought Delaney Walker 2 years ago was going to come back and be a really strong key player for the Titans, and he wasn't. So it's going to happen at some point, but I think it's worth the risk.
When we come back, it's time for Call Your Shot Friday here on Robby and Rexrode. We need your bold predictions in the world of sports. It could be with the Julio Jones situation. Do you think the Titans end up with him? Does somebody else end up with him? Any way you want to take it, everything in the world of sports on the table for this weekend. 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025 on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll do that next here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 1025, The Game.
The sports weekend has arrived. You know what that means.
Shoot your shot.
It's time for Call Your Shot Friday with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
And it is that time of the week here on Robby and Rexrode. Time for Call Your Shot Friday. We need your bold predictions in the world of sports. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025 on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ryan Porth not here once again. As Tyler on the text line points out, it's called shot. This segment is 5 minutes shorter without Porth there to give his 73 shots per week. It's probably a good call by Tyler.
When Porth is back on a Friday, how many shots will he call then?
I mean, you'd have to
make
up some ground. Yeah, I don't know.
2-segment call your shot.
We might have to. Might have to start that one at 7:30.
In his defense, though, the more shots you shoot, the more you end up making.
That's true.
Yes.
Unless you're Russell Westbrook.
That is very true, in which you can go 3 for 21.
That was unnecessary. I'm sorry.
Dang.
Shouldn't have done
That's
that.
a shot in itself.
That was.
Different kind of shot.
Joe Rexrode, do you have our called shots from a week ago? 2 of mine have not yet happened yet, but one was pretty horrendous last week for me.
Okay, so from a week ago, yes. So I said the Wild will stun the Golden Knights in Game 7 with Ryan Hartman scoring. No. Very nice. I said the Grizzlies will take a 2-1 series lead. Dylan Brooks will have 20+. No. Didn't win another game. And and then you and I both had that Victor Arvidsson won't be a Nashville Predator next season, so
have to wait and see on that.
We'll have to wait and see on that. Elijah, the Lakers will still reach the NBA Finals.
That is blinking fertilizer.
Yes, it is.
The Bucks finished the sweep of the Heat, and so you got that right, and will make the finals.
They might.
Hey!
and nice. Is that Will Ferrell doing Harry Carey?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And no, that was like Barney from Simpsons. My gosh, that was awful.
It sounded like a monster from like Ernest Scared Stupid or something like that.
I actually have a Harry Carey, but obviously it's not readily accessible right now. And you also reminded us that the Padres winning the pennant was a. So I guess every time you can remind us
every
that
time
that's your
you
called
yeah.
shot.
By the
Every
way,
time.
Padres.
That's continuous.
There you go.
So Robby, you had 2 long terms. You
Yeah.
had the Arvidsson gone. You had Granlund will be re-signed. So we'll see on those. And then you had the Grizzlies beating Utah in the series. So if you've got,
That was a rough one.
so there we go. And we are now ready to call shots this week.
And we are. So Elijah Campbell, would you like to kick us off this week in today's edition of Call Your Shot Friday?
Okay, yeah, I could do that. And I'll go ahead and I'll double down on the Bucks. I think the Bucks are going to beat the Brooklyn Nets in 7.
Ooh.
I like that one a lot. I like the Canadians to also beat the Jets in 6 games.
Elijah Campbell, a big Montreal Canadiens fan.
I am rolling the hot hand here.
Didn't you pick Montreal against Toronto before it started?
I might have been the only man on the planet, man or
pretty
woman on
good.
the planet, to put my faith in Carey Price, because I didn't have any faith in the Toronto Maple Leafs organization.
It's a good call.
And there might be a little magic going on with them right now, maybe a little extra motivation following the Mark Scheifele hit, and 4 games of no Mark Scheifele.
Yeah.
I like their chances.
I like their chances too.
So
there you go.
I got Julio Jones will be traded this week.
This week. Okay. So Julio Jones will be traded. By the time we do Call Your Shot Friday next week, Julio Jones will be traded. Elijah Campbell on Call Your Shot Friday. Joe Rexrode, your called shots for the week are what?
Okay, hold on. I'm typing this in. Will be traded this coming week.
This coming week.
Okay. All right. All right, first of all, let's just go with the big one. The Titans will trade for Julio Jones. I'm calling that shot now.
Okay.
I see John Robinson digging in, and I see eventually the Falcons coming back to him. They will trade a 2022 third and fourth. They will keep all the salary. The deal will be done.
I like it.
Also, this weekend, Vandy will cruise through its regional. Tennessee will also advance, will need to beat Duke on Monday in the final, both with a loss at that point. Winner take all game Monday to advance to the super regional. The Bucks will beat the Nets in 6, Elijah. Not 7, in 6.
6, he says.
The Mavs will beat the Clippers in 7, which of course means the series trend will continue. The Clippers will strike back, and then Luka will have more heroics in Game 7 on the road, and the Mavs will advance.
So you're saying the road team will win every game of that series?
I am saying that, exactly. And finally, the Carolina Hurricanes will win in 7 over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Mrazek's in. Rod Brindamore shakes it up. Jordan Staal with the huge game winner in overtime. They've outplayed that team. They got a little bit solved on Vasilevsky, and I think they're going to prevail.
I like it. Joe Rexrode's edition of Call Your Shot Friday, and it's funny how hockey goes sometimes. I thought Tampa played their best game of the series last night.
And they lose.
That's how hockey goes sometimes. All right, I'll go quickly here on Call Your Shot Friday. I also believe Julio Jones gets traded to the Titans. I think it happens over the weekend. I think this weekend, Julio Jones will be traded to the Titans. So I think relatively soon, it'll be happening this weekend.
Okay.
Colorado will win their first of 2 consecutive Stanley Cups this year.
Oh.
2 consecutive. Now, we're not going to sit here and wait for another year to watch this one come true. I had Colorado winning before the season. They, to me, scream like a team that's not going anywhere. I think they will win 2 consecutive Stanley Cups. The NBA Finals will be the Phoenix Suns and Milwaukee Bucks, which I'm sure NBA executives, they are fired up about that. And my final called shot of the week, Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter combine for 21 strikeouts this weekend.
So specific.
21 strikeouts combined for Rocker and Leiter.
All right. I love the specific number there. Very good.
So that is my edition of Call Your Shot Friday. As we know from my track record, that'll be good.
We got to Hey! No, I sound
that was
like
a little
Barney.
better. That was a little better.
Homer!
Still,
what am I doing?
Barney.
I don't know what you're doing.
I used to have a pretty good Harry Carey. I mean, man, I used to love watching Harry Carey on WGN.
Jeez.
And there were some days he was soused, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
That's the dream job.
Legend.
That is. Let's go to the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. Josh on the text line. The Titans trade for Julio for a second and a fourth round for a tight end. So Julio Jones traded for a second-round pick. They'll trade a fourth-rounder for a tight end. Because coming from Josh.
Okay.
I wonder if it's the same trade.
Josh does not give the corresponding how they make the numbers work, but that would definitely help them.
It was just to Call Your Shot Friday on what happens there.
That's right. You don't have to give the fine print on the called shots.
No, you don't. Got a texter that says he will accept no Brooks Reed slander. There's no Brooks Reed slander here. Also says he's the Clowney kryptonite. I don't know what that means.
I don't either. He's the reason that Clowney was bad last year?
I mean, maybe. Like, was Brooks Reed even around when Clowney was there?
No, I don't think so.
See, the thing with Brooks Reed is with the flow he's got going on, too, you can disguise him as Hayden Hurst, and I wonder how many people would be able to tell if that's Hayden Hurst or not.
Yeah.
There's no slander. We're saying that Brooks Reed can play on offense, too. That's actually a high compliment.
Yeah.
Titans version of Taysom Hill, but not quarterback.
Ooh. No, but no one is quite Taysom Hill.
No one is,
Let's be real.
That's some unfair expectations to put on Brooks Reed.
I mean, I hope that they already have Taysom Hill spotting Canton being carved out today. You know,
yes. The bust is already made.
Yes. We're getting a lot of traction on the text line about Hayden Hurst and Julio Jones. Alden texting in, what do y'all think about a 2022 first and a 2023 fourth to Atlanta for Hayden Hurst and Julio? So a first-round pick next year and a fourth-rounder in 2023 for Julio and Hayden Hurst.
So we've been spending all this time trying to figure out like how the Titans, again, find the money for Julio.
Then you add Hurst. He's still in his rookie deal, isn't he? For like another year?
I'm going to there right now. Should have had this up. So the Falcons did decline the 5th-year option on his deal.
So he's got to be on the rookie deal.
Yeah.
There you go.
But you know, it's still like, okay, so he's still making, he's making $2 million. I mean, he's making $2 million this year.
So just get Atlanta to take
All right.
half that salary for Julio and bring in Hayden Hurst.
Like, seriously, would you give up a first to have both those players?
Yeah, I probably would.
Okay.
Would you?
I mean
that's a pretty big need.
That's a pretty nice haul. Thanks, Arthur Smith. Some of your best skill players. He'll take a first-round pick, right? I don't hate it.
Would you
Call
do
it a
it?
shot.
Telling me there's a chance.
Would you do it?
Sure.
You don't sound very enthused about giving up first-round pick.
I mean, in general,
for both of those guys.
I have this automatic like first-round pick, gag reflex.
I know.
When it's brought up, but I mean, imagine this team with those two guys.
I know. Be a pretty good offense.
Fantasy football is so fun to play.
It's a lot of fun. Speaking of that, we'll play a little fantasy football coming up next. Our man Turron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, host of Talking with TD. He joins us next. This is Robby and Rexrode, live from the Wholesale Link Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com, here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Hour number 3 of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And it is that time of the week. We go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter and host of Talking with TD, Turron Davenport. TD presented each week by Freedom Tire Guys, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at freedomtireguys.com. TD, what's going on, my man? How we doing?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Good morning.
Appreciate you taking time to join us this morning, TD. Just from your vantage point as you look at this ongoing saga with Julio Jones throughout the league and with the Atlanta Falcons, where do you think things stand right now? And if you're the Titans, what are you comfortable giving up to acquire the services of Julio Jones? If it's going to be a deal that's completed by the Titans, what do you think that looks like?
Yeah, I think things are trending towards the Titans being able to get Julio Jones, and in my opinion, it's a perfect match. You have a team that, is just they need another receiver because, I mean, if they don't get Julio Jones or somebody to come in and help, there's going to be so much attention paid to A.J. Brown. I mean, they're going to have the whole defense trying to stop him, so they definitely need to get somebody else to come in there and really make teams pay for that. And I think if a deal is done, I could see it being like a second and fourth round pick, something like that, in order to get Julio Jones. And like I said, it's a perfect match, and it's a move that I think the Titans really have to make, and it's one that puts them in a position to be able to go toe to toe with teams that have explosive offenses like the Bills, like the Chiefs, etc.
TD, I enjoyed listening yesterday as you gave Jared, I guess what I'd call like a friendly annihilation on the air on a topic we've been batting back and forth today. The tight end versus Julio discussion.
Yeah.
Of course, I think we would all agree like Titans need help there too. I mean they could really use another tight end, more depth, more proven play. An all around tight end, but. Your thoughts on just the idea that like a tight end would help more than Julio, of course, Julio close to full capacity, Julio, but how far apart are those two things in your mind?
Man, I think they are years apart, miles apart, because like I asked Jared and like I told Jared yesterday, you can't tell me a tight end that is on the trade market or a free agent that will have a bigger impact than Julio Jones. Think about what Julio Jones does. Imagine Julio Jones in this offense against defenses that stack the box to stop Derrick Henry. Imagine him on the opposite side of A.J. Brown. Look at what the offense did last year when Corey Davis got to that point where he was a legitimate threat. Now, in 9 games, Julio Jones had almost 800 yards. So that tells you right there that he could really help that offense. So I don't think there's a tight end out there that could compare to the contribution that he gives.
TD, you joined us last week and had some interesting comments about the backup quarterback position for the Titans as well, as it refers to Deshaun Kaiser. Now, by the way, I played a celebrity softball game last night with Deshaun Kaiser. The guy is awesome. First off, he's a big dude, and he's a ball player too. So that was something to watch last night. He's really good at softball. What do you think about Deshaun Kaiser, and why do you think he has the edge in your mind heading into this competition with Logan Woodside?
Yeah, I'll say this about Kaiser. I saw him live at Temple. They played Temple on a Saturday night, and I remember seeing that joker get to the outside, like the pocket collapsed. He stepped up and he slid to his left, his right, and he was running. And after 15 yards, I was like, "Oh, he's about to get caught." 30 yards, he's not caught yet. He scrambled 78 yards for a touchdown. And I say that to say this. It's a lot similar to Tannehill as far as being able to threaten defenses with your legs, but also what he does and what I think is going to make him a better backup than Woodside is the fact you could throw those deep crossing routes, the 15 to 20-yard digs. You could push the ball down the field, too, with him. So, look, God forbid Ryan Tannehill got hurt. God forbid that happened. But if that did happen, you don't have to change the offense as much with Kaiser as you will with Woodside. Now, that being said, Woodside, he will go out there and keep everything on schedule, but you're not going to get too many big plays with him as far as air yards are concerned. You'll get big plays because A.J. Brown, we know what he is, the yak monster. You'll get big plays throwing a screen to Derrick Henry. But I think with Kaiser, you can still get big plays throwing that deep dig, that post route and those type of things. So that's why I think he's a more suitable backup. And I'm hoping that we do get to talk to him because I want to get him to open up about the situation in Cleveland because he was put in a position where I don't care if you're Tom Brady, you probably wouldn't succeed. So, you got to look at that. I'm not making excuses for the man. There were things that he shouldn't have done also, but it just wasn't a good situation for him.
Yeah, I mean, right. Obviously, whatever. I guess it was, the Titans game, right? He was out or whatever. Some people got mad at him, but he was bad that year. He was also a rookie for a horrible team. It is a really interesting story with him. Then you go to Green Bay, you go to the Raiders, bounce around, and you almost forget about him, but he does. You look at his whole story, and it does read as someone who maybe we have no idea, what he could be in this league. And you expect someone from age, 21 to now to grow up some and figure some things out. I think it's really an intriguing pickup for them. And like you said, TD, I mean, in this league, a lot of teams don't have this. They don't have a guy they feel like, okay, if you have a 2 or 3 week window, your starter's out, that maybe you actually have enough playmaking to get through that. Maybe you obviously, from what you've seen, think he could be that guy.
Oh, absolutely. I think he could be that guy. And I think really, this offense is quarterback friendly, and they like to get you on the move, do those type of things, and that suits what Kaiser is good at. So when you're running boot, when you're running those type of things, moving the pocket, it's good for a guy who can make plays on the run. Now, the thing with Kaiser, you got to remember, he threw a lot of interceptions as a rookie, and it's part because of the confidence that he has. When you have supreme confidence like that, you're going to try to fit the ball into places you really have no business doing. So the confidence is kind of a gift and a curse. If they could corral that, and just get him to, just play to his potential, I think they have something. But end of the day, you want 17 out there. You want him playing all 17 games. So.
Turron Davenport on the line with us here on Robby and Rexrode, presented by Freedom Tire Guys. TD, is the rumor true that I've heard that maybe you are going to be the one kicking field goals for the Titans this year? What are they doing on that front?
Yeah, man. They fitted me up with a steel toe cleat, so yeah, I may be out there, man. The Jack Dempsey style kicker.
I like it.
Yeah, none of this soccer style stuff. Just straight on, man. Just blast it.
That's it. No, in all seriousness, I think the Ohio State kicker, Blake, I could never pronounce his last name, Hobel or Hobble. I forget how to pronounce his last. Hey, that's a good attempt right there.
There you go.
But I think he's going to eventually win the job. And, I mean, you see this with kickers. These guys tend to just come out of nowhere. And that's another thing with confidence, that if they could find that confidence and keep it, they'll be good. But I just wonder about the distance, consistently making those 50-plus yarders. That's something that they're going to have to try to find a way to get over and over again.
So I count on you, TD, more than anyone else out there on the media side of things in terms of picking up on stuff on the field during OTAs and minicamp and all that stuff. What yesterday caught your eye?
Christian Fulton. I think I love the way he jumped the one route by Blasingame and picked it off. He picked Ryan Tannehill off. But what's really caught my eye is just how much communication that secondary has. And that's something I asked Kevin Byard about. I asked Amani Hooker about that too, and even Fulton as well. And these guys are out there talking. Whereas you have Fulton on the outside. There's an in-breaking route. He's saying in. letting the safety and the linebacker know that those are the type of things that it seems small, but it's huge in the grand scheme of things. So I would say the communication has really caught my eye as far as the secondary is concerned.
ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter and host of Talking with TD, Turron Davenport, has been our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. TD does a great job, joins us every Friday at 8 o'clock. TD, great stuff, man. Appreciate you taking time to join us. Hope you have a good weekend.
Yeah, appreciate it. And for anybody out there listening, this week Talking with TD, we got Elijah Molden on Talking Shop.
Absolutely.
So definitely a must listen.
That'll be great. Hey, real quick before you go, okay, I just found the Ohio State pronunciation guide.
Uh-oh.
It's Hawbill. So it's H-A-W. Blake Hawbill. So there we go. If he's the guy, we all know it now. There we go.
There it is.
Appreciate you, TD.
Appreciate you. Take care.
Absolutely. Turron Davenport joins us every week here on Robby and Rexrode, presented by Freedom Tire Guys, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, online at freedomtireguys.com. When we come back, we'll react a little bit more to what TD had to say there. Look ahead to the Titans. Got a lot of your thoughts to get back to on our text line as well, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks to Turron Davenport for joining us in the last segment. What do you think of what Turron had to say there? Saying, quote, I think things are trending towards the Titans being able to get Julio Jones, and I think it's our perfect match. What do you think of this situation, Joe Rexrode? Are things trending, in your opinion, to Julio Jones landing with the Titans, based on reading the tea leaves surrounding this conversation and throughout the league?
Like I said, I mean, this goes a few more weeks, and I'm going to be convinced that like it's either they get Julio or they're going to have the worst season in Titans history.
Yes.
Like it's the absolute end of the world if they don't get him, and they're Super Bowl bound if they do. So I'm totally getting swept up in Julio frenzy.
Julio mania?
I don't have a good pun. I'm sure I can come up with one.
Julio hoopla?
Oh
boy. Just came up with that one on the fly.
Julio pla.
Julio hoopla is better than
Julio
whatever you
hoopla.
And then
just
you
threw out
ruined
there.
it, Joe. It was good. Robby came up with something really good.
And then I butchered it. I know.
Spilled water all over it.
Yeah.
Oh, nice, Elijah. That was good.
Spilled water all over the crotch of that pun.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like go back to the audio of like when this was first mentioned, I was like, get out of here. They can't do it. They can't, and even again, it's like, is he I still don't think it's worth giving a first-round pick for him. I don't. But as the market appears to be kind of soft relative to what the Falcons hope it to be, because I agree with anyone out there who says if there was a first-round pick that was actually offered up to them, then we'd know what new uniform Julio Jones is wearing next year.
Yeah. So
as it appears to kind of settle into this feasible, doable range, man, I think it could be special. Because it really is like, if he's what he even was last year when he was on the field.
Which, as TD pointed out, was almost 800 yards in 9 games.
I mean, that's a lot. I mean, like, let's compare him to the other guy who was over there last year. Good player. Nice breakout season. Good for Corey Davis. There's no comparison.
It's not even close.
So you tell me that defenses can deal with him, with A.J. Brown, with Derrick Henry, with a good offensive line, with a very good quarterback. It's a nightmare. So, I mean, the tight end thing is part of the discussion, and I don't think they have enough depth there. I think they need a starter there if they can get a true starting all-around tight end. But, I mean, honestly, I'll put Jared at tight end for a few snaps a game, and you're still scoring on those. I mean, like if you're that lethal, that can make up for other shortcomings easily.
Josh on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says the Titans trade for Julio for third-rounders the next 2 years and a second-rounder next year. Atlanta retains 25% of the salary. Delaney signs with Tennessee within 3 days of the trade. So Josh combining all of those things there.
Oh, what a dream. Yeah, for those of you who have the Julio and Delaney dream, can you imagine? Yeah, here's another thing with Delaney Walker. Getting to know him pretty well over the years that he was here, I bet you on his list of teams that he'd be willing to sign for, I bet you the Titans would be low on that list. That's just my guess.
Really?
Delaney Walker is a huge chip on. Yeah, I mean, and not that I think he's realistic probably about them moving on from him, but I just feel like, I feel like he's that kind of guy. Like, okay, I'll show them.
Yeah.
I could be wrong on that, but it's not like he reacted the way like Jarrell Casey did. And I get Jarrell Casey being upset, but you also have to know it's a business. But I just feel like Delaney Walker would choose other teams first just because it was still somewhat recent that it happened.
Well, right now, Delaney Walker probably needs to choose whatever team's willing to give him a contract.
Exactly. and I'm going to guess that none do.
Right. Let's go back to the text line. Frank texted again saying it's Julio Palooza. That's the official name.
That's very good, too. Julio Palooza is very good. But Julio Hoopla's, that's nice.
Not bad.
Julio Palooza. I don't know. Which one's better?
Julio Hoopla. 'Cause I'm a fan for some alliteration here. So the more similar sounds, you can get in there, the more points you're going to score with me. I like Julio Hoopla.
I mean, Julio Palooza is good because it's like Lollapalooza, so like the sounds are similar. But Palooza has been overused in this way. There's just way too much. It's kind of like Gate, like something happens. Oh, well, like you spilled water on my, all over my stuff yesterday. It's like
another Watergate.
Water crotch gate.
Yes.
Whatever gate. Something happens. Gate. This gate. That gate. It's like Palooza. It's like, it's we're gonna go soccer weekend for the kids. Soccer Palooza.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, Julio Hoopla.
That's what it's going to be from
we
now
finally got to the important stuff on the show.
Hashtag
today.
Julio Hoopla. Look, my call shot is it comes to an end this weekend. The Titans get it done. We'll see what happens on that front. Ben on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says ESPN said Ravens and Rams backed out of Julio race because of the Titans, but didn't explain how or why. What happened? I don't think it was because of the Titans.
Yeah,
there's a report that the Ravens and the Rams no longer involved.
Yeah, it was not reported. It was Kimberly A. Martin from ESPN, and she didn't report that it was because of the Titans. Right. Now, there was reaction to her, and she said firmly, they're out. And then there was more speculation off that the Titans are in a good spot. But it's not that the Titans – I mean, again, if a team calls another team to get out, then that team makes the deal.
All right, so what does that mean? So you got Kimberly Martin saying that. There have been all kinds of people. I mean, Florio last week says that, talking to people in league circles, it feels like the Titans are ultimately going to be the one that ends up trading for Julio Jones. But as we know, that's not happened yet. So where do you think things stand right now between the Titans and Julio Jones as you try to peel back the layer of what could be going on in negotiations here?
Well, it reads to me like the Titans are at a certain place, and the Falcons are still out there trying to find something better. That's how the fact that we're sitting here right now, and it may not. I'm not saying just the Titans either. By the way, I mean I imagine there's a few teams that have said, "Hey, we'll do this." So if you get to this, my number. If two teams are out, as Kimberly A. Martin reported, and of course one of them is a team, if you're the Titans, you would not want to see Julio Jones go to. You don't want to see him go to any of these other AFC teams that propose to be contenders, but especially the Colts. I just like the thing with Florio. I mean, that's still just GM's guessing, right? That's a GM saying, it's like the Cardinals GM saying, I bet you Titans get him. I mean, it doesn't mean too much, right? But there does seem to be some growing sentiment, maybe from teams that have been involved in talks with the Falcons. That's the key, and that's the hard part about anonymous sources. I think sometimes it's like so we have Charles on every week. I know Charles. I've known him since college. If Charles reports something that there's sources in the league that like the Titans' chances, then I feel like he has talked to people who have been in talks with Atlanta and have a feel for that.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't just throw it out there otherwise. But some stuff really is just like a GM saying, I bet you the Titans get him. That's what I bet happens, which doesn't mean a thing. But there's more than that now, I think, out there from various reporters who are getting from people, and I would guess some of them having actually been involved in these talks with Atlanta, who seem to feel like the Titans. I mean, the Falcons want teams fighting each other.
Yeah.
I mean, the only chance they have no leverage from Julio's situation. Everybody knows they have to get rid of him. Their leverage is the markets, the only leverage they possibly could have. They need teams like, they're going to give them this. Well, I got to give them this. That's what they need. So there are some teams probably that have a feel for around where the Titans are.
Josina Anderson last night on Twitter says, a source tonight on the Julio Jones situation in part, quote, everyone has given the Falcons time to think about it. This from one team preferring to deal a high mid-rounder for the 7-time Pro Bowler with 6 straight 1,300-yard seasons before 20, and for Atlanta to take on a good share of Jones' salary as well. So Josina Anderson talking about, a high mid-rounder and for Atlanta to take on a good share of Jones' salary. That to me doesn't – I mean, that would be – if that's all it is, that's not a very good deal for Atlanta.
Okay, explain. What does a high mid-rounder mean? What does that mean? A high mid-rounder?
I don't know what that means. I
don't understand what that means.
She said high mid-rounder.
Okay, so the source tonight.
Maybe it's the range, high to mid-round. I don't know. So second to third, fourth round. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, maybe there's just a missing two. High to mid-rounder would make sense. Like a high mid-rounder? Like what is it? Like a
this is a high third round pick.
A fourth round pick who's high? Like I don't like what is, okay. So a high to mid-rounder is what I'm taking this as. Everyone's giving the source tonight says everyone's giving them time to think about it. Yeah. I mean, again, that's not great. If that's where things are,
it's not going the way the Falcons thought.
No, and it's going pretty well for a team like the Titans. Yeah. Now, it does not. Again, there's always the chance that someone jumps in and says, "Okay, how about this?" And you jump in front of the line, But it seems like you could get him for not a ton. You're taking on a lot of money. That's the concern.
When we come back, we'll switch gears. We'll be joined by Predators TV analyst Terry Crisp. We'll do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. And it's that time of the week. We go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in the legendary Terry Crisp, Predators TV analyst. Crispy, what's going on, my man? How we doing?
Good morning, gentlemen. Just great. Have my coffee. Beautiful sunny day out. Turn the news on, and there's not a whole lot of drastic, terrible things. So that made a nicer start for my day. And then I get to talk with you guys. Hey, what could be better than that?
Which we know is your favorite part of the week, and we appreciate you doing that once again this week, Crispy. Crispy, I want to start with a guy that you've known, obviously, for a long time, and that is Pekka Rinne. We know how important he's been, how great he's been for this team, this city, this franchise. Pekka talking earlier this week saying, he's not made a decision yet about his future. A lot of options are on the table for him. How do you kind of view this situation for Pekka Rinne in terms of how much game he's got left in him, the decision that he has to make coming up this summer and this offseason? What are kind of your thoughts on the decision facing Pekka Rinne?
Probably that he's now deciding all athletes, I don't care what sport you're in, an individual team will ever have pride. And the thing that enters the picture is it's not a matter of money, and it's not a matter of stature or whatever, because he's already attained that, and he'll get more. But does he want to take the job or take the role of being a backup goaltender and playing X amount of games, coming in when he has to play and whatnot? To me, that's what Peck is going through right now. Or does he even want to play anymore? There comes a stage in your career when money obviously is not an object. He's made a great living for himself. Has he had enough? Does he want to move on and do something else? Or the other side of the coin, and they've mentioned that, does he want to go back home to Finland and finish his career a year or two playing in Finland and whatnot? And these are all when you're sitting down. There are a lot of things going through your mind. I mean, when you've been entrenched like he has in Nashville, and he's an icon here, and he always will be. And I would imagine that when they ever put a jersey in the rafters, his will be the first jersey to go up in the rafters here at Bridgestone. I think right now Pekka's going to, and he's doing it the smart way. He answers all the questions. He sits and talks with people about it, but he doesn't put himself in a spot where I said this, I said that. He said, right now, I'm sitting, I'm going to look it over, and then Mr. Poyle and I will sit down and discuss if this is what I want.
Well, speaking of David Poyle, Terry, he and John Hines had the pleasure of, I think, about an hour and 15 with media. You must have been jealous with all these amazing media questions being thrown at them. But a lot of those questions, Crispy, about obviously the top forwards on this team, and the need for. We don't know what moves may or may not happen this offseason, but there's going to be some guys coming back, who have big contracts, who have not produced to match those contracts. If you look at this team in the top forwards, Crispy, who do you think has the most room to grow, and do you think that this group has enough ability, to be with the top teams in the league moving forward?
You know what, guys? First off, I'm going to answer that by saying, and I've said this before, more money doesn't make you a better player. And making a lot of money doesn't make you the best player. It just means you're the best paid or you just get richer. And a lot of times when I was coaching and training camps opened up, my roster was decided by what the contracts were, not by the ability or the skill that players had. And that enters a big picture into today's game today. Let's be honest about that. We all know it. You've heard Mr. Poyle talk about it, about the salary structures, et cetera, and that maintains it. But look at our team right now. When you say, where is there the room that I think is going to come along? I think a Sissons is going to come. Tolvanen will come along. Fabro will come along. Carrier will come along. I always look at it, do you think that Ellis is going to get any better, or Eki, or Yossi, or Forsberg, or Duchesne, or Johansson? Go on down the line. These guys are what age? They played how many years? Throwing money at them is not going to make them better players. What makes you a better player is your heart, your desire, your willpower, what you want to do for it. And I think right now, the soul searching it shouldn't all hinge on David Poyle's shoulders or John Hines' shoulders. It should be hinging right on the players. And the players that didn't produce or didn't live up to what we know they're capable of, the skill that we've seen them in the past. So to me right now, I look back over the season. We come down the stretch just running like a racehorse. It was great. But we did it with numerous guys injured, like Johansson out, Duchesne out, Forsberg out, Yossi out, Ellis out, go on down. And who stepped into the breach and did that? First you had a Granlund's line, and then you'd have Sisson's Herd line, and then you'd have Holla's line and whatnot. But you notice what's missing in all the things that I just said to you.
Absolutely. Terry Chris, Predators TV analyst on the line with us, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Crispy, you brought up Carrier there, and I was pretty much blown away by the way he played down the stretch. I thought he was really good for this team and really exciting as they move forward here. What did you think of Carrier, and did you see enough out of Carrier down the last couple of months of this season to convince you that he is here and he's here to stay at the NHL level, to high level, and maybe in your top four on defense?
You know what? Being a coach, I like what I saw of him. I'm not going to, I'll be honest with you, I'm not over bubbled that he is the answer. He made a good showing how he played. He stepped into the breach and did what he had to do. I'd like to see a little more of him, but I did like, and again, I'm going back to the end of it, that we need some size on defense. And all the other teams that we played and I see playing today, they're giants, and they're pounding each other in the zones and whatnot. So Carrier is a smart player, moves the puck well, skates well, but he still is a defenseman. And a defenseman's job is to defend the front of the net, move guys out of the way. I think he's going to be a good addition, but I want to see a little more of him.
You know, Crispy, one thing that really wasn't discussed yesterday, because I think it's become kind of a given, or it became a given this season, you know, is that Herd line, that fourth line with what you just mentioned, of course, Sissons, and he did such a great job with those guys. But you know, Olivier's, it's a small sample size with them too, and obviously, I mean, Trennan, kind of one of those breakout players this year. In your mind, is that just a given? Like next year coming back, that team is going to, or that line is going to be a tone setter for this team, and should be expected to do the exact same thing for a full season?
Exactly. Good statement. I have no doubt in my mind. Until they came along, we didn't have, and I'm going to throw that word out there that you've heard a million times from Coach Hines, an identity. And Coach Hines and his staff said they've been searching for an identity. David Poyle says they're looking for an identity that we had lost a few years ago, I guess. And the identity was a hard-working team, a team to play miserable against, a team that you didn't want to have to come into their building and play against them. And if we had lost any identity, that's the identity that we had lost. That identity came back the minute that we had injuries, and we brought up the kids from, I'm going to say Milwaukee, Chicago, from the minors, gave them a chance, didn't give them a 2-game sprint. We gave them the rest of the season. And they produced. Those kids that you just mentioned, Olivier, Jeannot, Trennan, they were the ones who put this thing back on the tracks along with Sissons and some of our defensemen. So then you had suddenly the guys that David had got like Holla and Cunnan and a couple of the other ones. And Granlund had an unreal season for us. I look at what those guys did to put us to where we were. That's the areas. Yeah, we're talking about the Herd line. Yeah, you know what? They gave us our identity back.
Crispy, last thing for you here. John Hines talked about, in the immediate aftermath of the loss and then again yesterday, taking positive steps this year, finding the identity like you talked about, but now the challenge being to take that to the next level as they move into this next season. As a coach, once you establish the way you want your team to play, how hard is it, in your opinion? What's the challenge going to be like for John Hines to get this team back to the next level where they are truly competing for a Stanley Cup?
You know what? I don't think it's going to be hard for John Hines because I've listened to him all year long, and I love what he said. I like how he said it. I like how he brought this team along. He didn't panic. But I love as a coach what he did. He sat out players he had to sit out. It wasn't popular. Didn't make him, mayor of the city. And he knew he had to do it. And I like what he did. I love what he says about his team. the identity up to what he's looking for. And I like when he said that, the herd line came in. He knows what he needs and what his team needs. And I like the way that when you guys were there yesterday, I listened to all of you. We listened to the Zoom you had on there about the guys that next year have got to step up and come in, or will they be here and whatnot. So I think the pulse of the team, David Poyle and Coach Hines yesterday hit the nail right on the head as to what they want to do. And being honest, in the second question, David Poyle didn't sugarcoat anything. He answered most. I think there's only one question he didn't answer. One of them might have been Rexy who asked it, because you always do stumble him on one. You always get one shot in there somewhere, either you or Stilly. But yeah, I like what they're doing. I love the way the coaching staff came together and how they did it. So yeah, I like the future of this hockey team.
Man, Crispy limps Rexy and Stilly together. Oh,
that's the greatest thing you've ever said, Crispy. Thank you so much.
I'm going to curl up in a ball and cry myself to sleep this weekend.
Hey, along with sugar, you get a little vinegar. You know what I mean?
That's right. You are absolutely right. Crispy, appreciate you so much taking time to join us this season. We're going to talk to you down the road as well, but it's been so great to have you on every week, and we just appreciate you taking time to join us again here today.
Thank you, fellas, and you all have a great summer, and take care and look after your families and stay safe and healthy.
Absolutely. You as well, Crispy. We'll talk to you down the road. Terry Crisp, the great Terry Crisp, Predators TV analyst, joins us every week here on Robby and Rexrode. When we come back, we'll react a little bit more to what Crispy had to say there, including the comparison between Joe Rexrode and Jared Stillman as well. You should have seen Rexrode's face on the stream. It was amazing. We'll get to that coming up next as well. Join Stars for their annual golf tournament, the Hart Golf Classic, on Monday, June 14th at Vanderbilt Legends Club. This event pulls together some of our community's most influential leaders and business people, so consider sponsoring a hole and have your investment in the hope, health, and connection of our young people be showcased. Registration to play is still available. The tournament is a scramble format with an 8 a.m. shotgun start. Breakfast and lunch will be provided. It's the Hart Golf Classic for Stars Nashville on Monday, June 14th at Vanderbilt Legends Club. For more information, please visit starsnashville.org or call 615-983-6805. We'll be right back here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
he answered most of his one. I think there's only one question he didn't answer. One of them might have been Rexy who asked it, because you always do stumble him on one. You always get one shot in there somewhere, either you or Stilly.
Because you had a bad day, you take one down.
Rexy and Stilly, baby. That sounds like the makings of a pretty good sitcom. What do you think, Elijah?
Rexy and Stilly coming to a television near you on ABC.
Yeah.
And if we have a lot of seasons, we can have Rexy and Stilly Palooza sometime.
Yeah, maybe so.
That was that comment by Crispy is it's very controversial. It's Rexy Stilly Gate.
That was what a parting shot from Terry Crisp there. I love it.
Always get a shot in. My goodness. So now
We
Jared and I are.
We've got to go back later and like clip out the video of Rexrode's face when Crispy said that. That was awesome.
Crispy's been taking some shots at me. Crispy on the post game. I'd answer these idiotic questions too. You know? But I still love you, Crispy.
Yeah. That was so awesome. I'm going to go back and watch that video later. Let's go to our text
I know I threw my
line,
hands up. Like,
driven
what?
by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Frank texting in. Crispy is spot on about players and contracts. We need to build around guys that have upside, not the high-priced ones who have peaked. Forsberg is the only question there. Is there more upside? 17 of the top 20 paid players are out of the playoffs.
Right, but again, so are you proposing just keep buying contracts out? You can, then you eventually will run out of money that way, because you have $2 million less that you can pay players right now because of Kyle Turris, because he just had to buy him out. You couldn't do anything with his deal.
Yep.
And so you like you either hope these guys get better or you pull off a little bit of wizardry. Maybe wizardry is overstating things, but I'd say, especially with Duchesne to Seattle, I would say it's
wizardry
close.
may be the right word.
I'd say I don't know if you're quite Harry Potter level, but you're. Give me another wizard.
You trying to
give me another wizard from Harry. You're not Gandalf, but you're like, come on, Elijah.
I was gonna go Draco Malfoy, maybe.
Yeah.
That's a more evil,
See,
evil
thank
wizardry.
You. Yeah, it's like, well, whatever. But like Malfoy level, like he was okay. You know, but it
Cedric
still
Diggory,
counts as wizard.
He was there for a book.
I had
Neville
a
Longbottom.
movie. Ooh,
that's been a good one.
All right, so you guys both
Courageous
know.
wizardry.
You guys both know more characters than Harry Potter. I figured that
I was really
would help out there.
I was really just trying to think how much Harry Potter Joe actually knew. To where if I could have made up a name right there, he'd been like, yeah, like that.
Like that guy.
I watched them all.
Did you read the books?
No.
Oh, okay.
I heard they were great.
They are.
So I could still made up a character and just be like, oh, I was a book only character.
Possibly. Yeah, right.
I had to read the book.
But anyway, the point being, it's great. Yeah, build around the other guys, build around Young. Okay, but you're still paying them. So, like, you could pay them this, and you could just keep scratching them. I mean, John Hines has sat both of those guys down at different times, but for the most part, they're going to be in your lineup, and you're going to need them to play better and come closer than they came this year to producing at the level of their salary.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Crispy brought up a great point. Even guys you like that you're still glad you have on the team that you like their deals, are you getting who's getting better? Yeah, okay. We'll talk about Forsberg. Maybe he'll be a 40-goal guy until his career's over, right? But to me, I think Forsberg
I'm done having
is
that
what he
conversation.
is.
Yeah.
And it's good.
Yeah, he's a good
I
player.
want him on my team.
Of course.
But I don't think that there's that next level. And I don't think that his next deal should reflect the next level that you hope he gets to. It should reflect the level he's at. We'll see if that happens. But you can't you are in a bind right now with the $2 million contract.
You are. And, I asked David Poyle about that yesterday in terms of, as a general manager, how do you balance the hope of getting them back on track and the reality of what we've seen the last couple of years of it's just been underwhelming. And he kind of didn't really have an answer for it. I mean, he went through and talked about, maybe it's intangible things that you try to fix. Maybe it's moving them in different spots in the lineups. Maybe it's guys like Tomasino and Tolvanen coming in, playing bigger roles and putting a spark in some of those guys. Like, it just didn't feel like David Poyle really had an answer of how to get the top guys back on track, which is not surprising. Like if David Poile or John Hines had an answer at this point of how to get those guys back on track, we'd have seen it by now.
Yeah, like Poile kind of went into, like you said, some of the coaching things that you could do. But again, like everything's been tried, including sitting, different lines, Duchesne center, Duchesne wing, neither on the power play. I mean, Johansson was good in the playoffs. Duchesne was better in the playoffs and had a huge goal, a wizard-like goal. So that was good, but you needed more of that. You needed them to repeat that for you to get past that round, and they didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So just looking at this team moving forward, to your point, I just think it's going to be so difficult this offseason to really change that up significantly. Like we've talked about Arvidsson maybe being a piece you can move. I don't know. We'll see what happens on that front, whether or not the Predators are even interested in going that route. But I continue to go back to those two, and I asked John Hines about this too yesterday. Like what exactly is Duchesne's role moving forward here? Like if they re-sign Granlund and he's back in here, like where's Duchesne playing? Like are you just going to leave him on the wing? You putting him at right wing the whole time and just trying to roll that line back out there with Forsberg and Johansson? Like it's starting to get to, especially if Granlund's back in there, you're getting back to that square peg round hole thing that we talked about with Kyle Turris. I mean, it's becoming to the point where it's getting a little awkward, to be honest with you.
Well, and I do wonder with Granlund, does the urgency to sign him fade some if you can't move one of those guys?
Yeah.
Now, Granlund, still most of his time here has been on the wing.
Yeah.
But they certainly seem to find something with him centering that line. He
never moved off of it.
He looked awfully good in all facets of doing it, So, but if you can't move either of those guys, I mean, I suppose you still, if you could make it work, even with all the other things that you have to consider and extensions, but also like Saros, everything else, the RFAs, I suppose it's still like, well, Duchesne's a wing now. And Duchesne is going to be with Johansson, and that's got to be great. And that's your best bet. Maybe that's it.
Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Rob in Franklin, who wants to weigh in. Rob, thanks for calling in to Robby and Rexrode.
Hey, you're welcome. Good morning and happy Friday.
You too.
Yeah, great wrap-up last night. I really enjoyed it. I thought that, the entire takes, both from Poile and from Hines, were a little watered down. I am interested to see what Rene has in store. I think that he wants to play a bigger role, very similar to what Chara put forth with Washington. Wasn't happy with his role and therefore wants a bigger role. At least that's what I'm reading into it. But more fascinating is exactly what you said in and around, what are we going to do with the two $8 million men? And to me, Johansson's progression, and this might surprise some people, but Johansson's progression has been a little bit better in the fact that he's been working hard on his own strength and his body position. I thought in the playoffs he was dominant when he wanted to be, and if we can somehow capture that magic in a bottle, that would be awesome. The thing about him that people don't understand is he's so tall and lanky, he doesn't look like sometimes he's giving 100% effort, where in fact he is.
Yeah.
I'm going to date myself here, but Pete Mahovlich in Montreal had the same knock on him. He doesn't look like he's trying. Well, that's because his legs he's got giraffe legs. And he's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that. On the other hand, Duchesne, who last summer I was looking forward to, or the summer before I was looking forward to the signing of him like crazy. The effort has waned, although in the playoffs he did give a very solid effort. But his defensive coverage would suggest movement. Some other things would suggest movement. A package deal with someone that hasn't turned out, maybe Pitlick, and maybe giving them some money to capture it. There was one very, very, and I'm going to break up here for a minute, so just bear with me, but there was one really interesting point that Poile raised, and that was, we have to have a conversation with the Kraken. And I'm like, what? will you discuss these things beforehand? And they do. They will walk into this with a gentleman's agreement, and I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah.
So if they're going to have a discussion and some type of gentleman's agreement because they need to align, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Rob Preds the Kraken general manager?
Yep.
Well, I don't think, as people go, you don't get any better than Rob Preds is, right? And so he's a gentleman. What he says he's going to do, he will do. So if you walked into it with the deal with that type of arrangement, we'll throw in a Pitlick, who I don't think his upside is huge here. We'll cover a little bit of the salary and give you Duchesne. That to me would be a good way to shed yourself of somebody that underperforms for 80% of the season.
Hey, thanks for the call, Rob. We appreciate it. I mean, that is it's interesting to think about it. David Poyle did bring that up yesterday of, he wants to have a conversation with Francis, the GM of the Kraken. And
that's how it works.
That's how it works. Look, you're going to see a lot of that with Ron Francis is going to be a busy man over the next few weeks. A lot of phone calls he's going to be taking.
I mean, Ron Francis is actually under a ton of pressure because now the expectation is, okay, well,
get to the cup final.
Yeah, do what Vegas did. Yeah. There's no more of this, wait 4 years before you get there. Hey, make some sweet deals, and you can have yourself a team.
That's right.
Would that do it? Would Pitlick and Duchesne and keep some of the salary do it?
I don't know. I mean, that depends on
it depends on what he thinks of Duchesne more than anything.
At some point, Seattle's going to have to get to the cap floor, but they're going to have a lot of options to get there. It doesn't mean that you just have to take an $8 million contract.
There's going to be a lot of bad deals proposed to them. Ron Francis will have no shortage of those.
When we come back, we will switch gears. Look ahead to this weekend coming up for Vandy. We'll be joined by new Vandy beat writer Aria Gerson coming up next. Right now, though, make sure you're listening to the game every weekday for your chance to win $1,000. It's the game's 1K payday presented by Kentucky Kingdom and Hurricane Bay. Listen for keywords at 9, noon, and 3. And when you hear it, go to thegamenashville.com and enter the keyword for a shot at $1,000. We'll be right back here on Robby and Rexrode, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in. Final hour of Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a big weekend coming up for Vanderbilt. The Vandy boys in action starting tonight, taking on Presbyterian tonight in the first game of the regional. Vanderbilt, the number 4 overall seed nationally, heading into this regional tournament. And to help us talk more about that, we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in new Vandy beat writer for the Tennessean, Aria Gerson. Aria, first off, let me be the first to just kind of welcome you here to Nashville. We're excited to have you here on the Vanderbilt beat.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to be covering Vanderbilt baseball.
Absolutely. So, Aria, just kind of tell our listeners your story and how you ended up here with the Tennessean covering Vanderbilt.
Right. So I came from Michigan. I attended the University of Michigan. I covered Michigan. I covered primarily football, men's basketball, and softball. And I wanted to kind of try something new, go somewhere else. So I came to covering Vanderbilt. But it's really exciting to be covering Vanderbilt baseball because I grew up with baseball. I grew up going to minor league baseball games with my dad, and I covered the Cape Cod Baseball League in 2019, and that was a ton of fun. And so I have a lot of knowledge of baseball in general, college baseball, minor league baseball, and major league baseball. So it's really fun to be covering this event, especially because, when I was at Michigan, Michigan and Vanderbilt did play in the College World Series, as I'm sure everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
I was not there because I was on the Cape, but I did see it on TV, and so it's kind of fun that I ended up here at Vanderbilt.
All right, so Aria, what are your impressions so far of Nashville? How's the move gone? Has Adam Sparks been helpful? And do you have any problems at all with Michigan State graduates?
That's a loaded question.
That's a lot of questions.
Yeah, the move's been great. I have obviously been working, so I haven't had a ton of time to explore the city, but I have tried some restaurants. I tried hot chicken. It was great. So I had to laugh, though, because the weather here is colder than it is in Michigan right now, and I was told it was going to be hot. So
just
I
you
had
wait.
to laugh at that.
You'll get there.
But, yeah, Adam's been great. And, and no, I have no problems with Michigan State grads. I will. I know we have a Michigan State grad on this show.
That's right.
So I will. I'm not about to start a fight, but it's been great to be here.
Hey, just do me a favor. Do not bring up the dominance the Michigan Daily has had over the state news in touch football, and we'll be fine because it's still some painful memories going way back.
It would be 15 straight years if not for COVID.
See, she's got the stat ready.
Off the top rope. I like it. So, Aria, what do you kind of think of Vanderbilt as they head into regional play beginning tonight? Obviously, the two big arms that we know so much about, Kumar Rocker, Jack Leiter, that gives you a chance every time you step on the field with those two guys specifically on the mound. But what do you think of this regional and just this opportunity for Vanderbilt as they head into play this weekend beginning tonight?
Right. I think the SEC tournament was a really good opportunity for Vanderbilt to play some of the best teams in the country, because when you look at the teams in the regional, Georgia Tech and Indiana State and Presbyterian, those are good teams, but those are not as good as the teams that Vanderbilt played in the SEC tournament. Not as good as Ole Miss, not as good as Arkansas. Those teams are hosting regionals. So I think it's a good opportunity, and obviously there's some really interesting matchups. Presbyterian is obviously the obvious one with Tim Corbin used to coach there. Their athletic director used to be an assistant men's soccer coach at Vanderbilt back when Vanderbilt had men's soccer. And so there's a lot of connections there. Georgia Tech has a couple former Vanderbilt players on their roster. So I think it's some interesting matchups there. But I think that the matchup is pretty favorable for Vanderbilt and just in terms of which teams that they were assigned. And I think that it's their experience playing in the SEC with so many really, really good teams is going to be really helpful in being able to get through a lot of these teams from other conferences in the postseason.
Aria, what's your view kind of Vanderbilt athletics overall, and even just your approach to this beat? I will tell you that like 5 years ago when I came down here from Michigan, I mean, one of the things that really struck me was just the popularity of baseball here. I mean, that's very different from my experience, than like the Big Ten. But obviously, you got a new football coach, you got new women's basketball coach. Jerry Stackhouse, relatively young in his tenure. What have you thought of Vanderbilt from afar, and what have you kind of learned here in the early going?
Oh yeah, definitely. Vanderbilt is much different from Michigan and from the Big Ten. At Michigan, even I guess they haven't been allowing fans really much. But baseball is not very popular at Michigan, and maybe they would have more fans after their College World Series run. But I mean, the first thing is that in the Big Ten, they allowed some fans, but like what the SEC is allowing is just way more than anything that I ever have seen in the Big Ten for like the past year. So it's really cool to go to Hoover and see the fans being super loud, because I was covering a lot of fanless events in the Big Ten. But I think Vanderbilt's really interesting. I think they, obviously I watched Sarah Fuller compete for their football team in the fall. Obviously, she's not at Vanderbilt anymore, but I think that they have some really interesting teams that have a lot of potential with their new coaches. Obviously, bringing in an alum in Clark Leah, and I think that I'm excited to watch where Vanderbilt goes. I think it's a school that there's a lot of really interesting stories at that haven't necessarily been told. So that's kind of my approach of just looking for like what are the really interesting things about this place. And then obviously baseball, that's the crown jewel. That's the national championship contender. And I covered a lot of contending teams at Michigan, but I wouldn't say I really covered a national championship contending team the same way that Vanderbilt is. I covered a lot of teams that were going to maybe make the Sweet 16 in basketball or make a bowl game in football, but they weren't going to win the national championship. So it's really fun to be covering a team that's like they could actually win the national championship, which was not true of most of the teams that I covered before.
Now, wait a minute. I was promised Harbaugh was winning multiple national natties and but in all seriousness, I mean, I got to ask you the Harbaugh question. What is your take on what he's done with that program and where things are going?
Right. Yeah. So I think Michigan's in a tough spot because I think there's some institutional things that are going to be issues no matter who the coach is. Like I know that they have some issues with their admissions office, like not admitting players. They have a hard time getting transfers because of that. And things like that, that's going to be a problem no matter who the coach is. But I think the biggest issue is that you have a situation there where, if you do fire Harbaugh, you need to bring in a coach that's going to beat Ohio State in the next 2 to 3 years, because otherwise you're going to end up with literally Harbaugh, because that's the biggest thing that he hasn't been able to do. And it's hard, when you're going to have attrition. If you get a new coach, you're going to have transfers. You need a coach that can recruit 5 stars right away. You need a coach that would bring the excitement of Harbaugh. They already have Harbaugh. So I think they're in a tough spot. It's hard for me to really say what they should do, because I think last year extending him, I was fine with that, because I think that a lot of athletic departments lost money with COVID. I think they didn't want to pay buyouts for everybody. But I just think it's a tough spot in general, and I think that some of their problems, I'm not sure that there's that many coaches. And, the school is a lot of the alumni, a lot of the boosters and stuff are very serious about academics and things like that, so they wouldn't necessarily, they want to beat Ohio State, but they don't want to be Ohio State, and it's really hard to kind of be in that situation and trying to win football games.
Absolutely. Well, Ari, we appreciate you taking time to join us this morning. Welcome to town, and wish you the best of luck as you move forward here. And we'll have you on, I'm sure, a whole lot as we move forward here as well. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks,
absolutely. Aria Gurson from the Tennessean has been our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. When we come back, we'll react a little bit more to what Aria had to say there and look ahead to this regional for Vanderbilt, big regional for Tennessee coming up this weekend as well. What's your excitement level for the NCAA baseball tournament? Let us know on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game. .1025 The Game, and the Nashville Predators will host a 615-day celebration presented by Social Furniture at Fordyce Center Bellevue on June the 15th, benefiting Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee. This all-day event will feature fun for the whole family while paying tribute to Nashville's annual 615 Day, an occasion that pairs Music City's area code with the date of June 15th. For more details, visit thegamenashville.com. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 1025 The Game, streaming live on Periscope, on YouTube, and on Twitch as well. Joe, as we talked about with Arya Gerson in the last segment, who covers Vanderbilt for the Tennessean, a big one tonight for Vanderbilt. They get underway in the regional against Presbyterian tonight. Tennessee taking on Wright State tonight as well in the Knoxville regional. What do you think about the opportunity for both teams as they move forward here? And as you kind of gauge what we've seen coming down the stretch here from Tennessee fans, we know what the Vanderbilt baseball fan base looks like. How much excitement do you sense in this area for the NCAA baseball tournament that gets underway tonight?
Well, I think it's very different in this way. You know, these teams are very similar in terms of just overall performance this year. One's the 3 national seed, one's the 4 national seed, but it's very different. Obviously, you have one program very used to being in this spot, very used to being in the super regional spot, and has been to 4 College World Series under Tim Corbin, and obviously the Vols in new territory. One thing to mention with the Vols, I think it's been a good week already. You know, we had Tony Vitello on the other day, and he kind of talked about the fact that the administration is being progressive, going on trips, looking at other facilities. Philip Fulmer was doing that previously.
Yep.
And it sounded good on the front. I mean, I tweeted something out from that, and I think there was a lot of attention from Vols fans that tweet. Mike Wilson had a story today that quoting sources in the Knoxville News-Sentinel that they are planning to make him one of the highest paid coaches in college baseball, which I think is smart. I wasn't sure are they waiting to see if a Texas A&M comes after him or something like that, or are they going to proactively do it? Well, good for them. If it turns out that way, I think it's worthwhile. And listen, if they lose this weekend, there'll be some people saying, all I care about is football, and now some of that money is going to baseball. Well, ignore those people. A winning program like this can help your bottom line and will.
There's enough money to go around for football, I promise.
And people will buy those suites to sit in Lindsey Nelson Stadium in years to come to watch this program that he's building. It's already been – I mean, you can't look at what he's done here in his 4th season and think it's like some flash in the pan. And the recruiting is going up for him. So I think this is the start of something really good for Tennessee. But this weekend, it's still very new territory for that team to have the pressure. 2 years ago, they got in. At a 14-year drought they ended of the NCAA tournament. They lost in the Chapel Hill Regional. They were kind of a bubble team. Now it's the pressure of your home, you're favored. You're expected to get to Omaha. And it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. Tim Corbin talked yesterday on his Zoom about early days. The famous David Price comes out of the bullpen, Michigan hits a homer, they lose in the Super, like in 2007, and how another coach kind of told him, I could tell, like, your team was too tight. I could tell that they were going to lose. Now, of course, it's always easy to say that, like, after the fact, right? I mean, It was one play, makes the difference. But still, Corbin has learned lessons as a coach on how to keep a team loose. And so it'll be interesting with Vitello this weekend to see, like, if the intangibles are in play. They have a tougher draw for sure than Vanderbilt.
Well, I think so. And Vanderbilt, I mean, you look at those two arms that we always talk about, Rocker and Leiter. I mean, if those two guys are on, I mean, you're right there with the top teams in the country. You give yourself a chance every night. Look, like I said, I think we know what the interest level is around here with Vanderbilt. It gets pretty high this time of year. I mean, the Vanderbilt fans, they love watching this team play. I think to some degree, even your casual sport fan in Nashville, when Vanderbilt starts to get into regional play, but especially when they get into Omaha and go to the College World Series, I watch. Like, I'll tune in. I'll watch those games. There's not been much reason to do that with Tennessee as of late. That's starting to change, obviously, with Tony Vitello. I just wonder, like, in terms of college baseball and its popularity, we talk about the MLB coming here all the time and whether or not that's a viable option. College baseball, to me, it feels like, especially the last, 10 years or so, Vanderbilt's had a lot to do with it. But I think also just how many local guys from high schools around here are going on to do big things, whether it's at Vanderbilt, whether it's at Tennessee, regardless of where it is, and getting to Major League Baseball. Like, think about the big names from this area in Major League Baseball right now. A lot of them played in college, and I think that has been huge for the growth of this sport here. So, look, you're not going to convince me that, like, college baseball right now is, like, on par with the Predators or anything like that. Like, it's not close. But I do think that there is a pretty healthy fan base around here for college baseball. I think it's getting bigger with each passing year. And Tennessee being good, honestly, That helps that a lot.
It does. No question. Look, I mean, we talked with Aria, who, of course, fresh out of the University of Michigan. I mean, there was some excitement. I had some colleagues who were in Omaha a couple years ago who, came out and covered that Vanderbilt-Michigan series with me, and it was like, yeah, the Michigan fans are like, sure, we'll support a winner, but, like, it is totally different world here with that stuff. That's one of the things that really struck me is, like, how into it the fans get and how much talent these teams have. How many guys who do go on to, having major league careers. I think that one thing that will kind of hurt this year, because Omaha has always been something I've watched, right? Like, there's always great stories. I mean, Coastal Carolina a few years ago. Yeah. I mean, there's always great players and stories, but I think a lot of people pick it up then. This year, because hockey and basketball has been pushed back, it's not ideal because usually sometimes hockey's done and basketball's close to done.
I mean, I looked on my Facebook memories today. Like, this is the day between games 3 and 4 of the Cup final in 2017.
Right. So
you're just now really getting started in the playoffs.
Yep. So usually there's less clutter for, like, Omaha to deal with, and there's more clutter this year. But I still think it is carved out. That was my first time being out there 2 years ago. It's just tremendous, the event itself in the city. But I agree with you. I think this state, it's getting better. It's a good baseball state. Anyway, by the way, Trevecca Nazarene, Division II World Series. Congrats to them. That's starting up here. But I think the Tennessee factor, no question. And if Tennessee and Vanderbilt get to the point where there's some, like, recruiting battles for some top guys in this state, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fun. That's a lot of fun. So if Vitello is the beginning of a Corbin-like run there, I mean, look, that's a lofty standard, but a really good run there. I think it's going to get more attention and have more of a following.
Well, I think so too. And look, it's this conference. It's amazing because, like, you watch a game at LSU, or Corbin the other day was talking about on Darren Donick and Chase, going to Arkansas, and, like, you're in a different place. I mean, there's a grown man standing in the stands with, a pig mask on. I mean, it's a different level here in the SEC. That's just what it is. Like, to me, the difference between the SEC and really every other conference in college baseball, I think, may be the most pronounced of any conference discrepancy of all of college sports. Like, it's almost like they're playing a different sport out there.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure that there's, something we're not like
maybe the Big Ten in hockey or something.
Well, Pac-12 like volleyball.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some, but yeah, I agree. I mean, the ACC is really good too. The ACC is good. But it's still not the SEC.
No.
I mean, it's just not. No, it's pretty amazing. And there's probably a little bit of it is like, when you talk like the Nashville Sounds, people love going to those games, don't necessarily like follow on a daily basis. I mean, it's hard with minor league baseball. Even I think, Nashville SC, incredible crowds and fan base, but it's a little different in terms of like daily following of coverage. Maybe there's a little bit like that with college baseball. But really great scenes at the stadiums, and now is the time for people to get on the bandwagon.
And it gets started tonight. Tennessee underway tonight against Wright State. Vanderbilt taking on Presbyterian tonight as well. The beginning of the regionals, both here in Nashville and in Knoxville as well. And we'll pick those games, those regionals coming up in Weekend Winners after the break. We got a lot to get to on Weekend Winners. A jam-packed weekend in the world of sports. That's coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. And it is time for weekend winners here on Robby and Rexrode. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Elijah Campbell here with you on this Friday morning in Nashville, Tennessee. The competition, I don't know if fierce is the right word for it anymore. Joe, let's just go ahead and get my least favorite part of the week out of the way. What are the standings update as we look at the competition right now in weekend winners?
Let me review last week with you.
Thank you.
Fellas. Joe Rexrode, 5-1, got his lock, 6 points.
It's ridiculous.
Robby, 2-4, didn't get the lock, 2 points. Elijah, picking for Porth. You went 3-3, did get your lock, got 4 points. So the standings going into today. Rexrode, 55-29, 12-2 on locks, 67 points. The fact that a sports book has not already come to me to make me a lucrative offer to be a handicapper is actually a crime. But you know what? I'm here.
You're available.
I love Vegas. I don't know that I want to live in Vegas, but I could visit often, do shows, do talks, whatever you need. It's about time.
Motivational speeches.
55-29, mostly against the spread. I mean, seriously, tell me why I don't have a job like that already.
That's pretty good.
All right. Porth / Elijah. Porth and friends. 41-42, 48.7-7 on your locks. Robby, you're 36-48, 6-8 on your locks, 42 points.
Significant distance between Rexrode and us in the competition. Significant ground to make up. Do we have any idea when this competition ends?
I mean, I think we probably need to
final?
pause it after the NBA and NHL are done, right?
I would agree.
We'll pause and we'll go back to Pigskin Pick'em, which I wasn't great in. But if I follow it up in Pigskin Pick'em, I don't think I'm going to be around here much longer. I just want you guys to know this, okay?
We'll see what happens.
And look, it would be a smart hire for someone out there.
Probably would.
The Daily Wager might poach him.
But I tell you what, guys, I will do a spot on this show to break down games and lines with you. I promise this, okay?
Well, thank you.
No problem.
We appreciate your consideration there. Let's go to our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Chris in Nashville texting in. Joe Rexrode equals Sam Rothstein. There you go.
Oh, hey, that's fine. Start a casino. You just got to be careful who you consort with, Sam.
Do you look like Robert De Niro?
Rest in peace. Rest in peace. What the heck?
What are you talking about?
Dude, I don't know.
Right.
You said rest in peace.
Right,
I think I'm thinking of Porth.
Let's get in there to
Mike
this
Tyson or something?
of weekend winners.
He lived in Vegas, had a tiger.
Yeah, he did. We're going to start with the Vanderbilt Regional. Now, we could go the simple route of just picking Vandy and Presbyterian tonight. We're not going to do it. We're going to make you pick who wins the regional. So the regional for Vanderbilt tonight, they're taking on Presbyterian. You also have Georgia Tech and Indiana State in the regional as well. Joe Rexrode, we begin with you. Who wins the Nashville Regional?
Vandy lock.
Wow, a lock.
Do I get a sound effect?
Immediately.
Guaranteed. Thank you.
Off the gate.
Hey, look, crazier things have happened than Vanderbilt not getting out of this weekend. Georgia Tech is an offensively explosive team. We're going to see Kumar Rocker tonight. You're going to see, a healthier team. Carter Young. I mean, I think those two pitchers are going to win the first two, and they're going to get out of there with relative ease.
Elijah Campbell, who wins the regional for here in Nashville this weekend?
That's got to be Vanderbilt, and I think I'm not going to make that my lock out of some gamesmanship here.
There you go.
When you have the pitching combination that Vanderbilt does, it's built for things like a regional where it's double elimination, and I just don't think the field's that tough.
I'm taking Vanderbilt as well to win the regional, which means all three of us have taken Vanderbilt. Sorry, Tim Corbin.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
He knows who to blame.
Knows who to blame on that front. Tennessee, they're regional. They're underway tonight against Wright State. Also, Liberty and Duke in the regional as well. Most people think a pretty tough draw for Tennessee in this regional in Knoxville. Elijah Campbell, we begin with you. Who wins the regional in Knoxville?
I hate to do this because I'm a lifelong Tennessee sports fan, but any lifelong Tennessee sports fan that has followed any of those programs know that anything that can go wrong will go wrong in the most heartbreaking way possible. Give me Duke. They won the ACC tournament. They're on fire right now. They're playing great ball right now. And it would be the most Tennessee thing imaginable for them to get a top 3 seed, get the hardest draw of any of the top seeds, and flail out of it before the Super Regional.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
Duke, they've got some pitching right now that I think it really scare you if you're Tennessee. All it takes is one game against them, and then you're in trouble.
It might not make it out against Wright
It
State.
may
Wright
not.
State's
Wright
a good team,
pretty
too.
good. As we heard from Tony Vitello this week, he does not believe Wright State is a number 4 in the regional. With that in mind, I'm still going to take Tennessee. Give me Tennessee in this regional tournament. I think their bats, at the end of the day, their offense is just going to be too much. I think they find a way to win this regional in Knoxville. Joe Rexrode.
Do you guys think that every Duke batter will come out to the walkout music with that cheesy song that was played at Coach K's presser?
That was the corniest thing I've ever seen.
What the heck?
I got like
because
some
that's what
Duke
they play
fans
when Coach K comes out of the tunnel each
I
game.
know.
But
Duke fans
it's not a
got
great
mad
song.
at me about it yesterday, like on Twitter, and I was like, okay, you can be mad at me all you want. It still doesn't make it any less corny.
Was Vingan like clapping along and crying during that?
Had to have.
I need to ask him. Listen, Duke is scary. Their pitching numbers are tremendous. They've been absolutely on fire in that way. Look, Wright State, again, I mean, they were projected as a 3. That's a tough draw. It's a very tough regional. I'm going to go with the Vols being clutch, maybe having to take it to Monday. In fact, I think I called that shot, didn't I?
You did.
I did. But getting it done, ultimately, this is a clutch veteran team.
All righty, so with that in mind, we go to our individual picks. Joe Rexrode, we begin with you, your first individual matchup of the weekend.
I mean, normally I'm going all NBA, and it's served me very well. I can't do that. I can't do that this weekend, but I will start there. And I'm going to go with my called shot. Clippers are -2.5 at Dallas. I'm going to take the Clippers, give the 2.5. I think that they are going to get it done and force a Game 7 tonight.
Elijah Campbell, your first individual pick of the weekend.
You took mine as well. I like the Clippers here. These teams are pretty evenly matched. A little disappointed in Tyronn Lue and kind of blowing it the way they did in the last game against Dallas. I thought they had him figured out. But in a playoff series like this, the deeper, better defensive team is going to win. Dallas isn't necessarily a good defensive team. I still think the Clippers win this game, but unlike Joe, I think the Clippers win Game 7.
Give me the Mavs plus the 2.5. They close it out tonight. I'm going head-to-head with y'all in this one. I'll begin the next round as well, the second round of the individual picks. Give me the Milwaukee Bucks plus 3.5 against the Nets on the road in Game 1. I like the way the Bucks have been playing. They've had a little time off now since they disposed very easily of my Miami Heat. But give me the Bucks plus the 3.5 against the Brooklyn Nets. Joe Rexrode, your second individual pick of the weekend.
Well, allow me to retort. I will take the Nets -3.5 in Game 1. Now, again, I like the Bucks in the series, but I think in Game 1, the Nets will come out firing, and then they'll have all this false sense of security, and it'll devolve from there. But give me the Nets tonight. Or, I'm sorry, not tonight, Saturday.
Elijah Campbell, your second individual pick.
I will also go with this game, but I want to go Bucks money line. I don't need those points because the Bucks are winning this thing straight up.
Wow.
The defensive versatility is going to show. The Nets just got done playing not too long ago. Like Robby said, the Bucks are well rested. And I think Mike Budenholzer is going to learn his lessons from last year and play Giannis more than 25 minutes in this one.
Probably a good start.
Good place to start.
The next round of the individual picks, Joe Rexrode, will be beginning with you.
Now I'm going to Sunday. I'm going through the weekend with the NBA. Hawks are getting 2.5 at the Sixers. Embiid is banged up. I'm going to go ahead and I love how Atlanta's playing. I mean, Trae Young, he's fun to watch right now. I'm going to go ahead and take those points in Game 1 Sunday. Hawks plus 2.5.
Hawks plus 2.5 against the New York Knicks. Elijah Campbell, your next individual pick.
I'll go with the same game, but I'm going Sixers -2.5. I know Joel Embiid, even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. The Sixers are finally able to knock down some threes. They'll figure out what to do with Ben Simmons, but I don't trust Atlanta nearly enough to stop this Sixers offense, even without Joel Embiid. They're still probably maybe a little tired from that series with New York, because New York did beat up on them pretty good physically. Philly's going to try to do the exact same thing. Give me the Sixers.
By the way, I did say the Knicks. I can't get that series out of my head. They're not playing the Knicks this weekend. They're playing the Sixers.
Oh, did you?
I
totally missed that.
But I missed that series already with Trae Young talking to the entire city of New York. All right.
Loved it. Take
Final
the bow,
round.
baby.
No, we got 2 more rounds. So the next round.
You got to do your third round.
Okay, so I'm taking Vegas plus the 1.5 against Colorado tonight in Game 3. Vegas played better in Game 2. Colorado, I thought, actually won on a cheap penalty call in overtime. Rantanen scores the goal. You can't convince me that Vegas is going to go down 3-0 in this series. Colorado's got to lose at some point in the playoffs. Give me Vegas plus the 1.5 against Colorado at home tonight in Game 3 and make it my lock. I am locking Vegas against Colorado.
Guarantee.
All right, so with that in mind, the next round of individual picks, Joe Rexrode, we start with you.
I'm not retorting. I am agreeing. That is my fourth pick. I'm going to take the 1.5. I think that they're probably going to win 2, but if they don't win, I think they're at least going to give them a game and lose in overtime. So give me the 1.5, the Golden Knights.
I am going with the Washington Nationals today against the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies suck. Max Scherzer is on the mound. Give me the Nationals minus the 1.5 against Philadelphia today. Elijah Campbell, your final pick in this edition of Weekend Winners.
And this is your lock.
Yeah, this got to
by
be your lock.
default.
Yeah.
This is your lock, my friend.
So I have one more. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
okay. Can I retro actively do my lock?
Sure.
Roll out. That one was tough. But my lock will be Clippers over Mavs.
Okay.
Feel really good about that. You know what? I am riding the Montreal Canadiens. It has done me well so far. I think I might have been the only organism in North America with an active pulse that chose to pick the Montreal Canadiens over the Maple Leafs. I think they're going to be a little motivated. Give me the Canadiens to take a 2-0 series lead on Winnipeg, and like my called shot, they're going to eventually win this thing in 6 games.
I like it.
So Canadiens, what's the line on that?
Plus 1.5.
So you're getting 1.5 too.
There you go.
You care to just go money line? Yeah, Mr. Confident, huh?
I'll take my point. I'll take my goal.
I'll take my goal and a half in that competition. That is today's edition of Weekend Winners. I am not going to wish Joe Rexrode good luck because I don't mean it, but Elijah, I will wish you good luck in the competition.
Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely. When we come back,
understandable,
we will wrap up the show. Give our thoughts on the NBA as well. A big-time exit last night in the NBA. How much interest is going to be there with some of the teams left in the playoffs? We'll get to that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Hey, Robby Stanley here to tell you the NBA playoffs are here, and you'll be in hoops heaven betting on all the action on FanDuel Sportsbook because there are so many exciting matchups, and FanDuel is taking that excitement to another level. New and existing users can bet risk-free throughout the playoffs. New users get up to $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't win. Plus, once you have an account, you can bet one same-game parlay risk-free every week. That means you can combine multiple bets for an even bigger win, whether it's the point spread, the money line, player points, rebounds, assists, everything is on the table. And if you don't win, you'll get up to $10 back. Basketball fans, now is the perfect time to give FanDuel a shot. Just sign up with promo code ROB to bet the NBA playoffs risk-free exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Risk-free bet for first online real money wager only. And refund issued is not withdrawable site credit that expires in 14 days. Same-game parlay refund issued is not withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max refund of $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same-game parlay available for multiple sports in all states on mobile and web. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Go to thegamenashville.com to check out Nashville's best deals. This week, purchase a $30 Boom Boss Craft Pizza and Tap House gift card for only $15. Try their award-winning pizza, 20-plus local beers and drafts at all locations. It's the place to go to bring the family or come for pizza, beer, and sports. 4 Middle Tennessee locations in Bellevue, Murfreesboro, Spring Hill, and in East Nashville, which has a huge video wall. I saw that last week. It was awesome. Great place to watch sports. Get yours now at thegamenashville.com. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Final segment of the day. And as we talked about to begin the show, Elijah Campbell's beloved Los Angeles Lakers eliminated last night from the playoffs in the NBA. Phoenix advances. LeBron is out. The New York Knicks are out of the playoffs as well, which is really right back in their comfort zone at this point, not being in the playoffs. Yeah, that was not very nice of me to say. My question is, you've still got teams like the Utah Jazz, obviously Phoenix are still in, Milwaukee. They had a great first-round series against Miami. They're taking on Brooklyn tonight. Tomorrow night. Do you think that that's bad for the NBA, not having the Lakers, LeBron in the playoffs, not having the Knicks, a huge market obviously in New York in the playoffs, and still having some of these smaller market teams who've had great years like Utah and Milwaukee and Phoenix? Is this going to be bad for the NBA as they head into the playoffs, or could this be a good thing for the NBA to have a little new blood in there?
Yeah, I think it gets a little bit overblown with the whole, you got to have L.A., you got to have New York. I mean, obviously, Knicks, Lakers, what would that be?
If they were waiting on New York to, generate ratings, they've been waiting for a long time, man.
Yeah, be happy that you got, 4 games out of them, okay? But
they still kind of do have New York with Brooklyn.
That's true.
We forget that they're in the same city.
This is true. But let me ask you guys if you know the highest-rated basketball game in the history of this country.
No. My guess is the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz.
That's the highest-rated series
in
NBA history. The highest-rated game happened between Indiana State and Michigan State in 1979. It wasn't because of East Lansing, or I don't even know where the heck Indiana State is. I've been there. French Lick. No. I've been
That's
to
where
French
Larry
Lick.
Bird's from.
No, I've been to French Lick. I have not been to wherever Indiana State is, and I apologize to Indiana State fans out there. It wasn't because of those markets. It was because of Magic and Bird, right? So to me, it's more about the players than the markets. Of course. I mean, like when LeBron was with Cleveland, everybody's like, ooh, Cleveland.
Is it Terre Haute, Indiana? I don't know how to say this.
Oh, Terre Haute.
Terre Haute,
yeah,
Indiana.
I'm stupid. I knew that. Terre Haute, Indiana, yes.
Skiatika.
Max Haubill, by the way, in case he is the Titans kicker.
Yes.
It's Haubill, not Haubill. I mean, I was
Harbaugh.
There you go, Harbs. I'm glad we got some Harbs talk today. So to me, again, it's not like everybody's like, I got to get that Cleveland market. Well, no, it was LeBron played for Cleveland, and those ratings were good too.
But you think about that too. I mean, you've got Durant, you've got Harden, you've got Kyrie with Brooklyn, which honestly, I'll probably hate watch them.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't stand that team. So I will probably watch them in anticipation that they lose. But outside of that team, you've got Giannis. I don't know that Chris Paul is a huge national draw at this point.
Well, but Devin Booker
should be, but I don't know that he's there yet in terms of your casual sports fan.
Yep.
I don't know if they're tuning in to watch Devin Booker. So from that standpoint, not having LeBron in, not having Steph in the playoffs at all, I think that hurts.
Yeah, it probably will. Because I think that people should be excited about watching Donovan Mitchell too. They should be excited about watching Jokic. I mean, like there's some great players in here that maybe aren't quite, at that level yet. But look, early days for Golden State, you had to find out what this team was, right? You found out that Steph and Clay are ridiculous, and it didn't take too long. To me, there was a lot of interest in the 15 NBA Finals, and they were just getting started. And it was LeBron, but it was also, watch this kid. And I think there's some guys in this tournament right now. I mean, I don't know that. I've got Luka going past this round. I mean, if you don't love watching Luka play, what? It's
pretty awesome.
It's some fantastic stuff. So it'll be interesting on that front. But I think it is more than just market.
Elijah, what do you think? As you look at the teams left in the playoffs, LeBron is out, the Lakers are out, still some star power, but some different teams at the top, especially in the West. What do you think of the playoffs? Is this a good thing or a bad thing for the NBA?
I'm kind of like in the same boat Joe is. I mean, this is great for the NBA because they finally get to showcase a lot of the young talent that's been eliminated before this round of the playoffs in the last couple of years. I mean, Jokic was in the Western Conference Finals last year, but Luka didn't get to make it out of the first round. He has a chance to do that tonight. You have Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz, who, with their series against Denver in the playoffs last year, was one of the greatest NBA playoff series anyone's ever seen because of the duel going on between Murray and Donovan Mitchell. And this Utah Jazz team is genuinely fun to watch. They have I don't want to compare them to the Warriors in their early time because they're just not as good as those teams are. And they don't have a Steph Curry, who is the greatest shooter in the history of the sport.
Yeah.
But this is one of the most fun passing and shooting teams we've seen, I would say, since the 2015 Hawks. That team could have gone to the finals, the team that won 60 games, also coached by Mike Budenholzer, if they didn't run into, LeBron James, which has been the thing for a lot of teams. I mean, we've seen the same thing every year, either Steph or LeBron having a buzzsawing their way to the NBA Finals and making some of these playoff games unwatchable. I think we're going to get tighter games because these teams are a lot more even than they've been the last several years too. So even people aren't watching initially, the games are going to get good enough and the series will be good enough. They're going to go long enough. They're going to be going to overtime. They're going to be so competitive that it's going to draw, I guess, your non-traditional NBA fan just because you are going to get some good games. And then, of course, people are going to hate watch the Brooklyn Nets. And you have three megastars right there. So even people who love those three stars, it is a players' league, so people that are Durant fans or Harden fans are going to watch that series anyway. I think in the long term, it's going to be good for the NBA, and you're going to see more years like this.
No Kyrie fans?
Quick soapbox for 10 seconds. This is the best basketball ever played on this planet right now in this league. Don't miss it.
Aesthetically,
watch
too.
it.
It's beautiful.
You're going to get a lot
amazing.
of Michael Jordan lovers coming after you right now.
Oh, God.
I'm just
Let them
telling
come.
you.
I'm going to retweet the Pistons win over the Bulls from '89 that was retweeted the other day, so people can watch the highlights of that.
If they do flock, I highly encourage them to watch the modern game instead of looking at box scores and saying nobody can play defense. So I encourage you to watch the full games.
It's the best basketball's ever been.
Chris in Nashville on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says, I love the Lakers, but last year's title felt empty. I'd love to see LeBron out of L.A. Wow. Got there quick.
I think he's living in L.A. after this and next phase of life pretty soon. Don't you think?
So.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he finished his career there. He's got like 15 houses, I'm sure, but it works out. Didn't go well.
LeBron to Memphis?
LeBron to the Grizz.
Whoever drafts Bronny in a couple of years.
Who do you think drafts Bronny just to get LeBron in there? I'd do it if I was Memphis.
Oh, I would. Even if I don't think he's that good of a prospect and I have him at like 3 or 4, yeah, absolutely.
Get him in there. Why not? At that point, LeBron will be like 40. Scooting his way to a title. That does it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. Darren Donica Chase is coming up next. This is ESPN 102.5 The Game.